Chapter 3344. Duanling Tian was extremely unfamiliar with the dignified middle-aged man and the graceful and luxurious-looking beautiful woman. He was certain he had never come into contact with these two people before. In fact, he had never even seen them before. However, although Duanling Tian was certain this was his first time seeing the three young men behind the two of them, he did not know why he felt a sense of familiarity and closeness from the three of them. It was as though this was not his first time meeting these three young men. However, he was certain this was not the case. He was certain he had never seen these three young men before. "Who are you?" Celestial Emperor Ling Kong looked warily at the middle-aged man in the dark golden robe. Although he found the middle-aged man familiar, he could not remember where he had seen him before. As expected of a titled celestial emperor under the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven, the golden-clad middle-aged man glanced at the soaring celestial emperor and said meaningfully, "Although we've only met once, I still remember you, soaring celestial emperor. It seems like a nobody like me isn't worthy of your attention, soaring celestial emperor." A mocking smile appeared on the golden-clad middle-aged man's face when he finished speaking. "You know me?" The frown on the soaring celestial emperor's face deepened. As a titled celestial emperor who was skilled in the law of space, he had his own circle of titled celestial emperors who were skilled in the law of space in the boundless heaven. In fact, his circle of titled celestial emperors who were skilled in the law of space would often leave the boundless heaven to interact with titled celestial emperors from other Devata realms who were skilled in the law of space. Although the golden-clad middle-aged man looked familiar, he could not recall where he had seen him before. "Old man, is it because you're not wearing the mask that the soaring celestial emperor doesn't recognize you?" The elegant and beautiful woman standing next to the golden-clad middle-aged man asked with a smile on her face. Indeed, the soaring celestial emperor has a short memory. The golden-clad middle-aged man scoffed and said indifferently, "Mask?" The soaring celestial emperor was taken aback by the beautiful woman's words. Then a thought appeared in his mind. His face paled immediately and his eyes widened in shock. It was him. Deliberately mystifying things. At this moment, the explosive flame celestial emperor, who was infuriated by his failed attacks, became even more furious when he saw the mysterious person who had attacked him earlier. He roared and turned into flames again. Boom! Accompanied by a loud bang, a huge hammer shadow appeared in the flames. It was surrounded by boundless flames as it smashed towards the golden-robed middle-aged man. Exploding flames, stop! Exploding flame immortal emperor's sudden attack was out of soaring immortal emperor's expectation. When soaring immortal emperor realized who the opponent was, exploding flame immortal emperor had already attacked with all his might. Not only did he use his own immortal artifact, he even used all of the fused profundities that he had comprehended in the laws of fire. Clearly he was extremely furious. He no longer held back and used his full strength to attack the golden-robed middle-aged man in the distance. The soaring celestial emperor ordered the explosive flame immortal emperor to attack. His voice was so loud that it was deafening. At this moment, the other titled celestial emperors who were fighting, including Yu Fengyu, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, Meng Chuan, the Jade Rainbow Celestial Emperor, and Pei Yuanji, the Nirvanic Celestial Emperor, retreated after a brief exchange of blows. With just a glance, they saw the golden-clad middle-aged man in the distance. At this moment, exploding flame immortal emperor seemed to have fused with the blazing hammer shadow. He unleashed a powerful force and smashed it toward the middle-aged man in a golden robe who was standing in the distance with an indifferent and expressionless face. The explosive flame immortal emperor had displayed his strength as a titled celestial emperor under the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven. If he joined forces with the soaring celestial emperor and the water-staff celestial emperor earlier, I wouldn't have suffered such minor injuries. Su Yasi thought to herself when she saw this. She knew the soaring celestial emperor and the other two celestial emperors had gone easy on her. Even the explosive flame celestial emperor, Ling Long celestial emperor, and the water-staff celestial emperor did not use their full strength. If the soaring celestial emperor and the other two titled celestial emperors unleashed their full strength, she would only be able to fight two of them at the same time. Why is he here? Unlike Yu Fengyu and the Nirvanic Celestial Emperor, the Palace Master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, Pei Yuanji, the Nirvanic Celestial Emperor, the Heavenly Pool Palace did not react at all. Meng Chuan's eyes widened in shock when he saw the golden-clad middle-aged man. He did not expect the golden-clad middle-aged man would appear here. After all, the golden-clad middle-aged man was as famous as his elder brother, Meng Luo, the Heavenly Savage Celestial Emperor. In fact, compared to the golden-clad middle-aged man, Meng Luo could only be considered a rising star. Even then, Meng Luo was only barely able to fight the golden-clad middle-aged man to a draw 100 years ago. Die! The explosive flame immortal emperor roared. His voice reverberated in the air like thunder. He was already enraged, and after using his full strength, not only did the power of flames roar out, but even his emotions were driven by the scorching flames. It was like a prairie fire that could not be controlled. Although the soaring celestial emperor's voice was not soft, it was extremely weak compared to the sound of the wind. Due to this reason he could not hear him clearly. You think you can kill me with just this little bit of strength? Under everyone's watchful eyes, the golden-robed middle-aged man smiled faintly. A hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes as he looked at the explosive flame celestial emperor. In the next moment, the golden-clad middle-aged man disappeared from his spot under everyone's watchful eyes. When he reappeared, he was already standing in front of the explosive flame immortal emperor. I'd like to see how you're going to kill me. The golden-clad middle-aged man looked at the explosive flame immortal emperor mockingly when he entered the explosive flame immortal emperor's attack range. Boom. Rumble. Facing the provocation of the golden-robed middle-aged man, the explosive flame immortal emperor, who was already enraged, unleashed the hammer shadow that was formed by the flames. It was like a rolling wave that overlapped with each other. Then, it unleashed its strongest power and smashed down on the golden-robed middle-aged man. A terrifying flame energy danced in the air and swept out, causing the air within a dozen miles to become scorching hot. Bang! A loud explosion rang out as if it was earth-shattering and heaven-shattering, and it exploded in the void. This, under Duan Lingtian's gaze, the hammer that resembled the fire god's hammer fell on the golden-clad middle-aged man's head. However, it seemed to have encountered some resistance and exploded in the air. The dazzling flames seemed to have transformed into fiery dragons that had escaped from their cages and fled in all directions. However, the golden-robed middle-aged man snorted coldly when the explosive flame celestial emperor's all-out attack only managed to cause the barrier above the golden-robed middle-aged man to tremble slightly. The golden-robed middle-aged man snorted coldly. In the next moment, rip! Accompanied by a clear and ear-piercing tearing sound, a ferocious and terrifying spatial crack appeared in the void above the golden-robed middle-aged man. It was like the bloody mouth of a space behemoth. As it breathed and swallowed, it swallowed the flames that were still sweeping in all directions. After devouring the flames, a crisp and ear-piercing sound of glass shattering could be heard. The space in front of him started to fold in a strange manner. Then it continued to spread out as though it was forming a flight of stairs. The spatial crack seemed to have a life of its own as it slid down the stairs toward the explosive flame immortal emperor. Lord Jiunyan, please show mercy. At this moment, the soaring celestial emperor finally regained his senses and hurriedly cried out. However, his words were too late. Although the explosive flame immortal emperor dodged when he saw the spatial crack moving toward him along the folded space, his body was strangely torn apart as if he was a piece of paper being cut off piece by piece. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the spatial crack swallowed the explosive flame immortal emperor who was cut into pieces like a piece of paper. At this moment, everyone present on the scene could clearly see the explosive flame immortal emperor's body. When the explosive flame immortal emperor's body was torn apart like a piece of paper, he was no longer breathing. What a terrifying law of space. This was Duan Lingtian's first time witnessing such a terrifying law of space. Even the supreme powerhouse's divinity in his sleep had only fused 2 profundities from the law of space. However, the golden-clad middle-aged man's attack was not as simple as fusing 2 profundities from the law of space. In fact, the golden-clad middle-aged man's attack was much more powerful than fusing 3 profundities. Although it was not as powerful as fusing 4 profundities, it was not far off. The explosive flame immortal emperor, one of the titled celestial emperors under the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven, took the initiative to attack the golden-clad middle-aged man. However, the golden-clad middle-aged man had killed him with just a slight counterattack. Jiunyan? At this moment, the water-staff celestial emperor, who was standing next to the soaring celestial emperor, looked at the golden-clad figure in the distance. Her eyes narrowed and she could not help but say in a trembling voice, "He's Jiunyan? Duan Lingtian. Even Jiunyan helped him?" The golden-clad middle-aged man was Jiunyan, the Grand Elder of the 10,000 Beasts Heaven's Dragons, the fragmented element celestial emperor. When Jiunyan attacked, he had fused many profundities from the law of space. He could easily tear a person's life apart, just like how the explosive flame immortal emperor was torn apart like a piece of paper by Ji Yunyan. Chapter 3345. Fragmentary Element Immortal Emperor, Ji Yunyan. Among the titled celestial emperors present on the scene, only Meng Chuan and the soaring celestial emperor had seen him before. Moreover, the soaring celestial emperor had seen Ji Yunyan with his golden dragon mask. Because of this, Immortal Emperor Ling Kong only felt that Ji Yunyan looked familiar but couldn't remember where he had seen him before. It was only when the elegant and beautiful woman beside Ji Yunyan spoke up that he recognized Ji Yunyan. When he recognized Ji Yunyan, the explosive flame immortal emperor attacked Ji Yunyan furiously. Although he wanted to stop the explosive flame immortal emperor, he was one step too late and the explosive flame immortal emperor was killed by Ji Yunyan. He's the fragmentary element immortal emperor, Ji Yunyan, the grand elder of the Wanshou Heaven's dragons? I've long heard of the fragmentary element celestial emperor. Now that I've met him in person, it seems like he really lives up to his reputation. The explosive flame celestial emperor is a powerful titled celestial emperor under the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven, but he's nothing compared to the fragmentary element celestial emperor. Too strong. Apart from Meng Chuan and the Ling Kong celestial emperor, the other titled celestial emperors present on the scene had only heard of Ji Yunyan. At this moment, the eyes of the few titled celestial emperors including Pei Yuanji lit up. Ji Yunyan's arrival was beyond their expectations. However, after Ji Yunyan showed up and attacked, they realized something. Ji Yunyan was a friend, not an enemy. Elder Ji Yu Fengyu, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, looked at Ji Yunyan with an unsightly expression. The explosive flame celestial emperor, the soaring celestial emperor and the water staff celestial emperor were all sent by his grandfather, the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven. But now, the explosive flame immortal emperor was killed by this person. The explosive flame celestial emperor was sent by my grandfather to help me deal with these fugitives. Why did you kill him? Shouldn't you give an explanation? Yu Fengyu's tone became increasingly gloomy as he spoke. Others were afraid of Ji Yunyan's strength, but he wasn't. Just like how he didn't dare to kill Meng Chuan, Ji Yunyan didn't dare to touch him easily because he had Heavenly the Arch Boundless behind him. As for the exploding flame immortal emperor, he knew that Ji Yunyan only dared to kill him because he thought the exploding flame immortal emperor was not important in the eyes of his grandfather. However, even though he knew what was going on, he still questioned Ji Yunyan. After all, morale was very important at this time. It was not difficult to notice that both the soaring celestial emperor and the water staff celestial emperor were thinking of retreating after the explosive flame celestial emperor was killed by Ji Yunyan. You want an explanation? Ji Yunyan glanced at Yu Fengyu indifferently and said, I'm afraid you're not qualified to talk to me, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace. If your grandfather comes here personally, I might be able to give him an explanation. In other words, Elder Ji, you intend to make an enemy out of the Heavenly Pool Palace and the Heavenly Palace of the Boundless Heaven? Yu Fengyu didn't expect Ji Yunyan to not give him any face. His expression became extremely ugly, and his eyes shot out waves of coldness, like knives and swords. If looks could kill, Ji Yunyan would have been killed countless times by Yu Fengyu. It's fine if you think so. Ji Yunyan said nonchalantly, completely ignoring the threat in Yu Fengyu's words. Yu Fengyu was so angry that he almost vomited blood. At the same time, he could only send a message to his grandfather, the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven. The Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven had only sent the soaring celestial emperor, the water staff celestial emperor, and the explosive flame celestial emperor because he felt the three of them were enough to help his grandson. He did not expect Ji Yunyan, the grand elder of the dragons of the Wanshou Heaven, would come as well. Ji Yunyan doesn't give me any face at all? I'll go over. The Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heavens' tone darkened when he learned about Ji Yunyan's brazenness. Yu Fengyu's eyes lit up when he heard his grandfather was coming. Elder Ji, my grandfather will be here soon. Do you want to wait for him or run away like a rat before he arrives? Yu Fengyu asked meaningfully as he looked at Ji Yunyan with a piercing gaze. As soon as Yu Fengyu finished speaking, Ji Yunyan's expression darkened slightly. Then, in just a blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Yu Fengyu. Bang! While Yu Fengyu was using his power to defend himself, Ji Yunyan's power was even stronger. The violent spatial power easily destroyed Yu Fengyu's power and landed on Yu Fengyu's chest, sending him flying. Blurg! Yu Fengyu was sent flying like an arrow. Blood spurted out of his mouth as he flew for nearly 100 meters before he finally came to a stop. Palace Master. The expressions of the Heavenly Pool Palace's titled Celestial Emperors changed drastically when they saw Yu Fengyu was severely injured. They glared at Yu Fengyu with a hint of dread in their eyes. Ji Yunyan looked at Yu Fengyu indifferently as he said, "So many years have passed but you haven't improved at all. Even that little girl is much stronger than you." As soon as Ji Yunyan finished speaking, he turned to look at the woman standing nearby. She was none other than Su Yixi. Based on Ji Yunyan's words, it was obvious he had been watching from above the clouds all this while. "What? You want to spar with me?" Ji Yunyan glanced at the Heavenly Pool Palace's titled Celestial Emperors and said indifferently, "If you want to, come at me together." Ji Yunyan was indeed arrogant. However, based on the Heavenly Pool Palace's titled Celestial Emperors looking at each other, it was not difficult to tell that Ji Yunyan was arrogant. After all, he had the right to be arrogant. Ji Yunyan suddenly turned to look at Yang Xiaotian. "No wonder I thought you looked familiar. Aren't you the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor, the Three-Eyed Celestial Emperor? Since when did a little wolf like you come to the Heavenly Pool Palace? Why didn't you obediently follow the Three-Eyed Celestial Emperor and come to the Heavenly Pool Palace?" Ji Yunyan shook his head when he finished speaking. "Senior Ji." The Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor was not angered by Ji Yunyan's reprimand. Instead he said awkwardly, "I had a little conflict with my big brother so I came out to relax." A hint of fear could be seen in the depths of the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor's eyes when he looked at Ji Yunyan. He had met Ji Yunyan a few times in the past. Naturally he had met Ji Yunyan with his big brother Yang Jian. Yang Jian had looked for Ji Yunyan to spar with him. In the beginning he was defeated by Ji Yunyan. It was only recently that Ji Yunyan managed to turn the tables around and end up in a tie with Ji Yunyan. After all, Ji Yunyan was not any weaker than his big brother Yang Jian. "Yes." Ji Yunyan nodded slightly. "Elder Ji." At this moment Yu Fengyu finally recovered from his injuries. He looked at Ji Yunyan from afar and asked in a deep voice, "Why are you interfering in the Heavenly Pool Palace's business?" "You'll have to ask the three little fellows next to me," Ji Yunyan said indifferently. Ji Yunyan said indifferently. When he said the word little guy, his tone became much gentler. It was as if he was a completely different person from his previous domineering attitude. Everyone, including Yu Fengyu and Duan Lingtian, shifted their attention to the three young men standing behind the beautiful woman. "Ha!" Meanwhile, the beautiful eyes of the young woman in golden clothes spun mischievously as she grinned at the other two. "Little black, little white, I told the two of you long ago. Big brother Ling Tian definitely won't be able to recognize us. Am I right?" "All right, you win," the young woman dressed in white said helplessly. Because the current atmosphere was a little quiet, even though the voices of the two were not loud, it was still clearly transmitted to the ears of everyone present. Everyone, including Pei Yuanji and Yu Fengyu, shifted their attention to Duan Lingtian. Earlier, when the young woman dressed in golden robes mentioned brother Ling Tian, there was only one person present whose name was Ling Tian. Little black, little white. However, at this moment, Duan Ling Tian completely turned a deaf ear to everyone's gazes. This was because he was also shocked by the words of the two young women before him. Little black, little white, how familiar and affectionate they were. When Duan Lingtian looked at the three young men standing in front of him, a thought flashed in his mind. Is it them? They've grown so big? In his memory, although the three little fellows had transformed into humans, they still looked like children. However, the three young men standing in front of him looked like they were about the same age as him. Besides that, he'd felt that these three people were slightly familiar earlier, but he just couldn't figure out why they were familiar. Yet now he'd completely recovered from his shock. It turned out that these three people were the two little pythons and the little gold mouse from all those years ago. Brother Ling Tian. The young man in black clothes with a cold expression was the first to fly forward and arrive before Duan Ling Tian. He squeezed out a smile on his face, and his originally cold and indifferent eyes became extremely gentle as his body slightly trembled. Little black? Duan Lingtian asked tentatively as he sized up the black-clad young man who was as tall as him. Although he could vaguely confirm the other party's identity, he was still in a daze. It's me. When the black-clad young man heard Duan Lingtian calling him Little Black, his eyes lit up immediately. Then he lost his composure and stepped forward. Both of his hands were frozen in midair as his body trembled violently from excitement. It turned into a pair of gentle eyes, and faint tears rolled down his cheeks. Ah, Little Black, it's really you? Duan Lingtian stepped forward and hugged Little Black naturally. Both of them hugged each other tightly like brothers who had not seen each other for a long time. Looking at the excitement in Duan Lingtian's eyes, It was obvious he could not control his emotions. It had been 200 years. He had not seen Little Black, Little White, and Little Gold for more than 200 years. The three of them had grown up. Chapter 3346. When he was young, Duan Lingtian had already met Little Black and Little White. At that time they were just two special little pythons. Later on, after a few transformations, they had all taken human form. After that, they mysteriously disappeared with Little Gold in the Beyond Heaven secret zone in the mundane realm. After that, Duan Lingtian did not have any news about them. Sometimes he even wondered if they had met with misfortune. Every time he did not dare to think about it. As for Little Gold, she was also a little golden mouse that he had met when he was young. She had accompanied him for a long time. Brother Lingtian. When Duan Lingtian and Little Black had just separated, a golden figure rushed over and threw herself into Duan Lingtian's arms. It was the young woman in golden clothes. Ah, Little Gold has become a big girl. Duan Lingtian laughed. At the same time he could clearly feel Little Gold's excitement and saw the tears flowing down her face. He quickly patted her back and comforted her. Silly girl, it's good to be reunited. Don't cry, don't cry. Little Gold, are you done hugging? At this moment, the white-clad young woman who seemed calm and elegant suddenly frowned when she saw Little Gold hugging Duan Lingtian for a long time without letting go. She seemed a little displeased when she saw Little Gold hugging Duan Lingtian tightly. What? Do you want to hug Brother Lingtian too? If you don't want to hug him, I won't let you hug him. Little Gold laughed when she heard Little White's voice. She made a face at Little White and hugged Duan Lingtian even harder. Little White snorted and pushed Little Gold away. She took half of Duan Lingtian's arms and leaned her head on Duan Lingtian's chest. Tears flowed down her face involuntarily. Brother Lingtian, Little White missed you so much. I finally found you. Even the fourth elder of the dragon clan couldn't help but sigh as he looked at the beautiful woman standing not far away. This was the first time she had seen Little White like this. All along, Xiaobai had been very sensible, independent, and bright in front of her. Not to mention shedding tears, even the slightest bit of emotion was rare. Only then did she know that Little White still had one more year. It was to the extent that even Blackie, who was usually cold, lost his composure in front of this purple-clothed young man. It was the same for the mischievous Xiaojin. No wonder Little Black and Little White insisted on being surnamed Duan instead of Ji like the rest of the clan. So it was all because of this young man. Currently, Jining Yun also knew that the purple-clad young man whom the three little fellows missed so much was Duan Lingtian. The reason why the three of them had the surname Duan was most likely because of him. Yun, take them away. At this moment, the fragmentary element Celestial Emperor Ji Yunyan, the first elder of the dragons, said bluntly to Jining Yun, I'll stay and wait for the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven. Speaking of which, I haven't seen that old friend of mine for many years. When I'm done catching up with my old friends, I'll look for you. Ji Yunyan said. All right. Jining Yun replied as she looked at the three little fellows and Duan Lingtian. If you want to catch up, let's go somewhere else. Don't disturb the old man from catching up with the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven. After she spoke, Jining Yun did not seem to have done anything, but a pure and holy white energy was like the dawn that suddenly lit up in the darkness. Once it appeared, it seemed to cause all things in the surroundings to fade. Let's go. Jining Yun cried out before the pure white energy wrapped around Duan Lingtian and the others and brought them away. Senior, please bring Senior Lianxiu with you. Duan Lingtian looked at Jining Yun respectfully before he turned to look at Lianxiu in the distance. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, Jining Yun's energy swept out again and brought Lianxiu with her. Lianxiu thanked Jining Yun profusely. Thank you, Senior. Brother Pei, all of you should leave as well. Duan Lingtian said loudly to Pei Yuanji. As soon as he finished speaking, Pei Yuanji and the other 5 titled celestial emperors who were imprisoned in the Thousand Chains prison made their moves and left the Thousand Chains prison. From the beginning until the end, the group of titled celestial emperors from the Heavenly Pool Palace could only watch helplessly. Of course, when they glanced at the figure in dark golden robes standing not far away from them from the corner of their eyes, waves of intense fear appeared on their faces at the same time. Similarly, the soaring Celestial Emperor and the Water-Staff Celestial Emperor did not dare to make a move. Damn it. I can't believe Duan Lingtian managed to escape. Lei Ying's expression was extremely unsightly. She did not expect Duan Lingtian would be able to escape under such circumstances. Her eyes were filled with hatred as she looked at Ji Yunian. Naturally, she only dared to show her hatred when Ji Yunian was not looking at her. If Ji Yunyan looked at her now, she could only lower her head and hide her hatred. With Ji Yunyan's strength, even if she was at her peak, she would still die if she fought him, let alone when she was heavily injured. Moreover, Ji Yunyan only needed a thought to kill her with his domineering spatial energy. Ji Yunyan's mastery of the law of space was comparable to some heavenly emperors who were skilled in the law of space. Moreover, he could even revert to his true form as a nine-clawed divine dragon. Even if he fought the weakest heavenly emperors in the Devata realms, he would still be able to defeat them. In just a few moments, no matter if it was Duanling Tian, Pei Yuanji, or Duanling Tian, they had already left. Meanwhile, Yu Fengyu, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace and Meng Chang Celestial Emperor, had been recovering from his injuries. After about 15 minutes, he looked at Ji Yunyan with an unsightly expression on his face. Elder Ji, it's one thing for you to protect Duanling Tian, but why do you have to meddle in other people's business as well? Especially Pei Yuanji, the Nirvanic Celestial Emperor. My grandfather was the one who imprisoned him in the Thousand Chains prison. Are you trying to offend my grandfather by letting him go? Yu Fengyu asked in a deep voice. Upon hearing Yu Fengyu's words, Ji Yunyan glanced at Yu Fengyu indifferently and said, I only showed up to save Duanling Tian. What does the others have to do with me? Naturally, it's fine if you think of it as me saving them. Ji Yunyan's expression was indifferent when he finished speaking. Upon hearing Ji Yunyan's words, the titled celestial emperors from the Heavenly Pool Palace were infuriated. Based on Ji Yunyan's words, it seemed like he did not intend to protect the others. However, 15 minutes had already passed. Even if they wanted to chase after the others, it was already too late. It was impossible for them to catch up. The fourth elder of the dragons, the condensing cloud celestial emperor? Although Duanling Tian had guessed the beautiful woman was a titled celestial emperor when she brought him little black, little white, little gold, and Lianqiu away, he did not expect her to be a titled celestial emperor. He did not expect her to be the fourth elder of the dragons. Although the dragons of the 10,000 Beasts Heaven were on par with the Heavenly Pool Palace of the Boundless Heavenly Pool and the Heavenly Sword Mountain of the Solitary Destructive Heavenly Pool, they were much stronger than the Heavenly Pool Palace of the 10,000 Beasts Heaven. In fact, even 10 heaven-grade forces like the Heavenly Pool Palace and the Heavenly Sword Mountain would not be a match for one of the dragons. The dragons were one of the strongest heaven-grade forces in the Devata realms. Even the heavenly emperors of ordinary Devata realms would not dare to provoke the dragons. There were more than a dozen titled celestial emperors among the dragons. Moreover, the weakest titled celestial emperor was on par with Su Lang, Duanling Tian's teacher in the Heavenly Pool Palace. In fact, they might even be stronger than Su. After all, titled celestial emperors among the dragons were capable of transforming into nine-clawed divine dragons. Most importantly, there was one more thing. Rumor had it that one of the heavenly emperors in the Devata realms was also a member of the dragons. Although the heavenly emperor had established his own heavenly palace, he was still a member of the heavenly emperor palace. However, if something happened to the dragons, he would not let the matter rest. Moreover, in terms of strength, the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven was ranked in the upper middle tier among the heavenly emperors in the Devata realms, whereas the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven was ranked in the lower middle tier among the heavenly emperors. Brother Ling Tian, let's go to the Thousand Tribulation Sword Sect. I heard Sister Huan is with you. Where is she? Little Gold asked curiously. She's waiting for me in the St. Province realm. Duanling Tian smiled. Senior Lianqiu is Huaner's father. Then Duanling Tian turned to Lianqiu and introduced his three grown children to Lianqiu. Senior Lianqiu, they're my younger siblings. I've known them since I was a teenager in the mundane realm. All right. Lianqiu smiled. Since his wife was a phantom fox, he had a special fondness for celestial beasts. Little black, little white, and little gold. What happened to you in the St. Province realms beyond Heaven's secret zone? Duanling Tian asked curiously. Back then, the three little fellows had entered the Beyond Heaven's secret zone to look for him. However, after he left, they did not come out. Since then, there had been no news of them. Brother Ling Tian, at that time, we were taken to the 10,000 Beasts Heaven, Little White said. Xiao Bai began to recount everything that had happened back then. She said that she and Xiao He had gone to the Dragon Tribe, and Xiao Jin had gone to the Blood Moon Ridge. She also told Duanling Tian about their experiences over the years. We thought we were stronger than you, Brother Ling Tian, but today we realized we're still weaker than you. Little Gold smiled bitterly. Earlier, Ji Yunyan, the Grand Elder of the Dragon's Heaven Secret Zone, had been hiding in the clouds to watch the battle. Therefore they had witnessed how Duanling Tian defeated a titled celestial emperor. Since they were too far away, even if Duan Lingtian had used the 5 divine elements' power, the Grand Elder of the Dragon's Heaven secret zone, Ji Yunyan would not be able to detect it. For this reason, Duan Lingtian was not worried about the 5 divine elements in his body being exposed when he heard Little Gold's words. Fortunately, the Grand Elder of the Dragon's Heaven secret zone intervened in time. Otherwise I would have used the 5 divine elements' power. Duan Lingtian still felt a lingering fear when he recalled the battle with the Soaring Celestial Emperor, the Explosive Flame Celestial Emperor, and the Water Staff Celestial Emperor. In the Hall of Literature. Chapter 3347. Earlier, Duan Lingtian was so close to revealing the power of the 5 divine elements to the titled Celestial Emperors. Once the 5 divine elements were exposed, Duan Lingtian would become a rare treasure in the eyes of the titled Celestial Emperors. After all, there was no one who did not want the 5 divine elements. Even if the 5 divine elements were low-grade, they would be able to increase the chances of a titled Celestial Emperor who had comprehended the laws of the 5 divine elements to become a god. Becoming a god was the dream of every titled Celestial Emperor. In the Devata realms, only a handful of heavenly emperors who stood at the peak of the Devata realms managed to become gods. Based on this, many people, including the heavenly emperors of the Devata realms, would go crazy if the 5 divine elements were exposed. At that time, Duan Lingtian would become everyone's enemy in every Devata realm. Brother Lingtian, where Sister Kerr and Sister Fei are? Did you ascend with them? Little Gold asked curiously. Kerr? Fei er? Upon hearing Little Gold's words, Duan Lingtian fell silent for a moment before a hint of resentment flashed in his eyes. They didn't ascend with me. In fact, they're not even in the Devata realms. They're not in the Devata realms? Little Gold frowned. That's impossible. Little Black, Little White and I returned to the St. Province realm. However, we didn't find you, Brother Lingtian, Sister Kerr, and Sister Fei in the St. Province realm. At this moment, Little Black and Little White also turned to look at Duan Lingtian. They're in the Divine Offering Land, one of the realms of gods. Duan Lingtian replied in a low voice. Realms of gods? Divine Offering Land? Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Little Gold, Little White and Little Black frowned slightly. They had more or less heard of the realms of gods, but they had never heard of the Divine Offering Land. Even Ji Ningyun, the 4th Elder of the Dragons, turned her attention to Duan Lingtian. After all, even she had to look up to the plane of gods. Brother Lingtian, why are Sister Kerr and Sister Fei in a realm of gods? Little White asked doubtfully. Little White, Little Gold and Little Black had left the mundane realm before Yun Qingyan brought Kerr, Li Fei, and the others to the Divine Offering Land. Because of this they did not know what happened later. Faced with Little White's doubts, Duan Lingtian took a deep breath and explained everything in detail. After so many years, Duan Lingtian's eyes were still burning with rage when he mentioned the past buried in the depths of his heart. His body couldn't help but tremble slightly because of his anger. The Yun family of the world of divine remains? Ji Ningyun, the 4th Elder of the Dragons, could not help but gasp when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. Senior, do you know about the Yun family of the world of divine remains? At the same time Little Gold asked Ji Ningyun in confusion. Flames of anger burned in the depths of her eyes. She did not expect Sister Kerr, Sister Fei, and her little nephew and niece would be forcefully taken to the Divine Offering Land by someone called Yun Qingyan. If possible, she would have helped Ling Tian to save Sister Kerr, Sister Fei, and the others from the Divine Offering Land. I know a little. Ji Ningyun said solemnly, the Yun family is considered a big family in the Divine Offering Land. Not only that, but they're also very powerful. Any elder in the Yun family is a god with extraordinary strength. Even an ordinary servant in the Yun clan or a young disciple with outstanding innate talent is a titled Celestial Emperor. Moreover, they're not ordinary titled Celestial Emperors. Although they didn't go to the title temple to obtain a title, they're stronger than most titled Celestial Emperors. Ji Ningyun said. Duan Lingtian was naturally aware of Ji Ningyun's words. After all, Senior Feng Qingyang, the Heavenly Emperor of the Solitary Destructive Heaven, was forced to enter the Azura Hell, one of the 7 deadliest places in the Devata realms, by a servant of the Yun family. As it turns out, the person who forced Feng Qingyang into the Azura Hell was from the Yun family of the Divine Offering Land. Moreover, it was because of you. Ji Ningyun sighed as she looked at Duan Lingtian. I didn't expect Senior Feng Qingyang would be implicated as well. Duan Lingtian smiled wryly. However, I didn't expect you to be Feng Qingyang's successor in the mundane realm. As far as I know, he doesn't have any formal disciples. He doesn't even have half a formal disciple like you. Jiningyun looked at Duanling Tian in surprise. Why didn't you go to the solitary destructive heaven to look for him? I only learned about Senior Feng Qingyang's safe return from the Azura Hell and regained his position as the Heavenly Emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. However, at that time I thought I was only his successor in the mundane realms. Perhaps he had other successors in the Devata realms and other mundane realms as well. Therefore, I thought I might be rejected if I went there recklessly. Duanling Tian smiled awkwardly. Shut the door? You're thinking too much. Jiningyun shook her head and said, Feng Qingyang is arrogant and aloof in front of those he's not close to. However, he's very kind to those he's close to. Back then he had a battle with the patriarch of the Dragon's clan, and they became good friends. Later on, when the patriarch came to him for help, he agreed to help without any hesitation. Jiningyun looked at Duanling Tian and continued to say, based on his character, he'll definitely acknowledge you as his successor. Lord Heavenly Emperor's successor? Lian Qiu, who was standing at the side, was shocked by Duanling Tian's words. In his opinion, Duanling Tian was already his future son-in-law. However, he did not expect Duanling Tian to have such a close relationship with the Heavenly Emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. At this moment he felt his daughter had found a treasure. Feng Qingyang, the Heavenly Emperor of the solitary destructive heaven, was like a god to Lian Qiu, a disciple from the Heavenly Sword Mountain. In fact, most of the sword celestials in the solitary destructive heaven regarded Feng Qingyang as a god. Unfortunately, even Senior Meng Chuan can't contact him. Duanling Tian smiled bitterly. Meng Chuan? No wonder I thought the person fighting the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace looked familiar. As it turns out, he's Meng Chuan, the Jade Rainbow Celestial Emperor under Feng Qingyang. He's the younger brother of the Heavenly Savage Celestial Emperor, Meng Luo. Realization dawned on Jiningyun as she asked, since Meng Chuan can help you, why didn't you ask the other titled celestial emperors from the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven? If there were enough titled celestial emperors, you wouldn't have to fight the Heavenly Pool Palace. You could have killed your way out before the Heavenly Emperor of the boundless heaven appeared. Jiningyun could not help but feel puzzled when she finished speaking. Based on Senior Meng Chuan's words, he can't contact Senior Feng Qingyang or his elder brother. It seems like he's not sure how important I am to Senior Feng Qingyang. That's why he can't ask the other titled celestial emperors from the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven to help him. Duanling Tian explained Meng Chuan's purpose in coming here today was to keep you Feng Yu, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, busy. I see. Jiningyun nodded. Brother Ling Tian, there are still more than 700 years before the passage between the Devata realms and the realms of gods opens. With our current strength, we might be able to kill our way into the world of divine offering and rescue Big Sister Ke and Big Sister Fei, after 700 years. Little White comforted Duanling Tian. Although Blackie did not say anything, his eyes flashed coldly when Xiao Bai mentioned the divine offering land. A wave of killing intent rose in the air. Yes. Duanling Tian nodded with a smile. I've already survived for more than 200 years. 700 years won't make much of a difference. I just hope they'll have a good life in the divine offering land. A hint of worry could be seen in the depths of Duanling Tian's eyes when he spoke. Brother Ling Tian. Little Gold could see Duanling Tian's worry, so she changed the topic and asked with a smile, tell us about Sister Huana. How did you meet her? This time you've risked your life for her. In addition to deliberately changing the topic, Xiao Jin was also quite curious about this. Huana? Duanling Tian seemed to be in a daze as he said, we met 200 years ago. Then he told Little Gold about how he met Huana. Lian Qiu smiled wryly as he said, it's all because of me. If I wasn't imprisoned by the Heavenly Pool Palace, Xin wouldn't have come looking for me. Otherwise Huan wouldn't have been abandoned. It's fortunate she met you. It seems like Xin wasn't lying to me when she told me that she had sought the help of an elder in the Phantom Fox clan who could foresee the heavenly secrets of her clan. Lian Qiu said. In Lian Qiu's opinion, Duanling Tian was Huan's savior. Senior Lian Qiu, I'll return to the Saint Province realm with you. Duanling Tian said to Lian Qiu. Then, he looked at Little Gold, and Little White before he asked, do you three want to return to the Saint Province realm with us or return to the 10,000 Beasts Heaven? Brother Ling Tian will return with you. We'd like to meet Sister Huana as well, Little Gold said with a smile. Duanling Tian nodded. Little White and Little Black did not reply. Instead they looked at Jiningyun. It's rare for all of you to reunite. Why don't you return to the Saint Province realm with us? I'd like to visit Little White and Little Black's hometown as well. Jiningyun smiled. Senior. Duan Ling Tian suddenly remembered something. He looked at Jining Yun and asked solemnly, Senior Ji Yunyan is there. Will he be fine when the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven arrives? Although the dragons had a powerful background and were supported by a heavenly emperor, Duan Ling Tian was the grand elder of the boundless heaven. As the grand elder of the dragons, Ji Yunyan had a high status among the dragons. If something happened to Ji Yunyan, the dragons would definitely stand up for him. However, the heavenly emperor who had left the dragons might not make a move. In the Hall of Literature. Chapter 3348. Jining Yun was taken aback when she heard Duan Ling Tian's question. Little White and Little Gold, on the other hand, could not help but laugh. Even Xiao He had a faint smile on his face. It was apparent the three little fellows were laughing because of Duan Ling Tian's question to Jining Yun. What's wrong? This time, it was Duan Ling Tian's turn to be slightly puzzled. Was there a problem with his earlier question? Brother Ling Tian. Little Gold asked with a smile, do you know there's a heavenly emperor among the dragons who's now a heavenly emperor of a Devata realm? I've heard of it. Duan Ling Tian nodded. With this in mind, he was certain the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven would not dare to offend the dragon clan. However, that did not mean the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven would not dare to provoke the dragons, the grand elder of the dragons. The relationship between the dragon clan and the heavenly emperor who left the dragon clan was naturally close. The latter would definitely not easily watch the dragon clan be bullied. However, the great elder of the dragon clan Ji Yunyan, and the heavenly emperor who left the dragon clan might not care. Then, do you know the relationship between the heavenly emperor and Ji Yunyan? Little Gold asked again. Duan Ling Tian shook his head and asked, is it possible that Elder Ji Yunyan is closely related to the heavenly emperor of the dragons? Elder Ji Yunyan is a direct descendant of the heavenly emperor. He's Senior Ji Yunyan's great-grandfather. Little Gold smiled and said, moreover, when Elder Ji Yunyan was very young, he was brought to his great-grandfather's heavenly palace and stayed there for 1,000 years. That's how he became what he is today. Even if Elder Ji Yunyan is not as strong as the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven, do you think he would dare to provoke Senior Ji Yunyan? In the circle of heavenly emperors, the relationship between Elder Ji Yunyan and the heavenly emperor is not a secret. Xiao Jin finished in one breath. After hearing Xiao Jin's explanation, Duan Ling Tian came to a realization. At the same time, he finally understood why the fourth elder of the dragons wasn't worried about her husband's safety at all. Apart from that, the first elder of the dragons, Ji Yunyan, had a fearless expression on his face when he learned that the boundless heaven's heavenly emperor was coming. It turned out that the great elder of the dragons had such a backer. You worried for nothing. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. Of course, Duan Ling Tian was very grateful to the first elder of the dragons. Not only had he saved him, but he had also saved Senior Lian Qiu, Big Brother Pei Yuanji, and the others. Big Brother Pei Yuanji. Upon thinking about the others, Duan Ling Tian immediately contacted Pei Yuanji. We're planning to return to the Saint Province realm. Do you want to go with us to see Huan Er? Back when he was still in the Thousand Chains prison, he had already exchanged soul orbs with Pei Yuanji, so they could communicate directly. I'm not going. Pei Yuanji replied through voice transmission. Since Du Xian has come out, I'll be able to answer to her. I'll continue on my path. I hope we'll meet again in the future. Pei Yuanji nodded. We will. After replying, Duan Ling Tian sent a voice transmission to Meng Chuan. Senior Meng Chuan, have you left? Earlier, when they left with Pei Yuanji and the others, Duan Ling Tian saw the Jade Rainbow Immortal Emperor, Meng Chuan, still there. I just left. Meng Chuan replied through voice transmission. I don't want to stay there and be a punching bag. A punching bag? Duan Ling Tian was stunned. When the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven arrives, he won't be able to do anything to Ji Yunyan. At that time, I'm afraid he'll vent all his anger on me. Although he definitely won't dare to kill me, it won't be a problem for him to torture me. So, I'd better take advantage of the fact that that old man hasn't arrived yet and leave first. Meng Chuan smiled. Upon hearing Meng Chuan's words, Duan Ling Tian could not help but fall silent. Indeed, Senior Meng Chuan's plan was very thorough. Duan Ling Tian, I didn't expect you'd be able to get the Grand Elder of the Dragons to help you. If I knew he'd help you, I wouldn't have stayed in the Heavenly Pool Palace. Meng Chuan sighed. I didn't expect it either. Duan Ling Tian said, similarly, I didn't expect Ji Yunyan to come. Alright, I'll see you next time. When the Heavenly Emperor returns, I'll mention you to him. If he wants to see you, I'll bring you to the boundless heaven. Meng Chuan said, you'll still be in the boundless heaven, right? Communication celestial talismans could only be used to send messages within the same Devata realm. Even the best communication celestial talismans could only be used to send messages across different Devata realms. It was impossible to send messages across realms. I'll be in the mundane realm, the Saint Province realm, Senior Feng Qingyang's hometown. As for the boundless heaven, initially Duanling Tian wanted to say that he would not return to the boundless heaven. However, when he thought about his teacher, Su Lang, his senior brothers and senior sisters, especially his eldest senior sister who had protected him the first time they met, he could not help but hesitate. Would he really not return to the boundless heaven? Under normal circumstances, I won't return to the boundless heaven, Duanling Tian said. Which Devata realm do you plan to go to after leaving the mundane realm? If the Heavenly Emperor wishes to see you, I'll have to find a place to send you a message, right? The 10,000 Beasts Heaven, the Jade Emperor Heaven, the Spirit Overarching Heaven, or the Solitary Destructive Heaven? Duanling Tian replied. If you can't find me in those Devata realms, the mundane realms or the Saint Province realm, you can look for me in the boundless heaven. Perhaps I'll return to the boundless heaven. Duanling Tian added. The mundane realms, the Saint Province realm, the 10,000 Beasts Heaven, the Jade Emperor Heaven, the Spirit Overarching Heaven, the Solitary Destructive Heaven, the Boundless Heaven. Alright, I'll remember that. Meng Chuan replied. Duanling Tian was about to send a message to Su Lang when he remembered he had given Su Lang's soul pearl to someone else before he was sent to the Thousand Chains prison. It seems like I can only contact second senior brother, third senior sister, fourth senior sister, fifth senior brother, and sixth senior brother. When Duanling Tian thought about his senior brothers and senior sisters who probably did not know the ins and outs of the matter, a bitter smile appeared on his face as he felt slightly guilty. Although he did not intend to use them, even if the Heavenly Pool Palace did not punish them for leaving the Heavenly Pool Palace, they would still be looked down upon by the other Heavenly Pool Palace disciples in the future. After all, there was a traitor among them. After taking a deep breath, Duanling Tian sent a voice transmission to his sixth senior brother, Hong Fei, and his third senior sister, Hu Mei. He was the most familiar with both of them. Third senior sister, please apologize to teacher on my behalf when you see him. Sixth senior brother, please apologize to teacher and eldest senior sister on my behalf when you see them. Whether it was Hu Mei or Hong Fei, they were confused when they received Duanling Tian's voice transmission. Little junior brother, what's wrong? Did something happen? Hu Mei was confused. Little junior brother, what's going on? Hong Fei was confused as well. I'm sure all of you have heard about the prisoners escaping from the Thousand Chains prison, right? Duanling Tian asked through the voice transmission. It had been a while since the incident had happened. Only the 9 titled celestial emperors from the Heavenly Pool Palace were chasing after them. The others must have spread the news. I just heard, it seems that a genius disciple released all the prisoners. Hu Mei replied. Yes, I heard about it. Moreover, someone said that you were the one who released the prisoners. I refuted them. Our eldest senior sister is one of the 3 head wardens of the Thousand Chains prison. Little junior brother, you didn't do it, right? Hong Fei did not seem to care at first. However, when he thought about what Duanling Tian had said earlier, he wondered if he should apologize to their teacher and eldest senior sister. With this thought in mind, Hong Fei hesitated for a moment before he asked. It's me. Duanling Tian replied. Hong Fei fell silent. Meanwhile, Hu Mei also fell silent when she received Duanling Tian's voice transmission. What? Hu Mei asked. At the same time, her voice became cold and solemn. After listening to Duanling Tian's explanation, Hu Mei fell silent again. After a while, she finally said, Little junior brother, I understand. Third senior sisters, all of you will forever be my senior brothers and senior sisters. In the future, if there's anything that I, Duanling Tian, can help with, I'll definitely do my best to help. Duanling Tian was naturally moved when he heard Hu Mei's words. You'll always be third senior sister's little junior brother? Forever. Hu Mei said, Moreover, I know eldest senior sister's character very well. Since she tried so hard to get you to leave, I'm sure she's just being polite. If she really wanted you to stay, why would she help you? Hu Mei chimed in. I understand. Duanling Tian nodded. Little junior brother, what's going on? Why did you release those prisoners? Hong Fei asked when he regained his senses. Sixth senior brother, I've already told third senior sister the ins and outs of the matter. If you want to know, just ask her directly. Now, I'll be leaving the boundless heaven. Don't forget what I told you to do. As soon as Duanling Tian finished speaking, he left the boundless heaven with the 3 little fellows, Lian Qiu and Ji Ningyun, and made their way to the Saint Province realm. The last time he returned to the Saint Province realm, he had returned with Huan. However, this time he returned with the three little fellows. This made Duan Lingtian feel very different. Duan Lingtian immediately brought everyone back to his hometown, the Crimson Sky Kingdom. Huan was waiting for him in the Crimson Sky Kingdom. Brother Lingtian. Huan looked like a peerless beauty who had walked out of a painting as she threw herself into Duan Lingtian's arms like a gust of wind. The three little fellows and Jiningyun's eyes lit up when they saw Huan. Before this, they could not believe such a peerless beauty existed in this world. Chapter 33-49. Although Huan did not follow Duan Lingtian to save Lianqiu and his wife, she still felt a great deal of pressure in her heart. In fact, she had been keeping an eye on Duan Lingtian's soul pearl. If anything happened to brother Lingtian while he was trying to save her parents, she would die with him. This was the promise she made when Duan Lingtian forced her to stay in the mundane realm. This was her bottom line. Now that she saw Lingtian had returned safely, it was only natural that she was happy. She even forgot about her father, Lianqiu. Lianqiu stood at the side and looked at the woman who was hugging Duan Lingtian with a dazed expression on his face. Xian, do you see this? At this moment, a snow-white phantom fox had appeared in Lianqiu's arms. The phantom fox's injuries had healed a lot. In fact, it was already able to open its eyes with great effort. When it saw Huan hugging the purple-clad young man, its eyes shone with excitement. Huan seemed to have sensed the phantom fox's gaze. She left Duan Lingtian's arms and walked up to Lianqiu. She nodded at Lianqiu, but she did not address him as father. She looked at the phantom fox in Lianqiu's arms. Huan, is that you? My daughter. Is that you? A series of voice transmissions rang in Huan's ears. To her, this voice was heavenly. Moreover, it had been more than 200 years since she last heard this voice. Mother, it's me, Huan replied. At the same time, her white robes fluttered even though there was no wind. A gigantic phantom fox the size of a small mountain appeared behind her. It looked noble and holy. When the white fox appeared, whether it was Ji Ningyun, Little Black, Little White, or Little Gold, they all clearly sensed the pressure from the depths of their souls. It felt as though the phantom fox was a celestial beast that was more powerful and noble than their true forms. In other words, it was no longer a celestial beast. After all, their true forms were already top immortal beasts among top immortal beasts. This is... Ji Ningyun narrowed her eyes when she saw the white fox's silhouette. She was stunned for a moment before she blurted out, "A thousand phantoms ice fox." "Thousand phantoms ice fox?" Upon hearing Ji Ningyun's words, Little Black, Little White, and Little Gold finally regained their senses. They looked at Huan in shock. At the same time, they finally understood why the silhouette behind Huan exerted such pressure on them. It turned out to be 1,000 phantoms ice fox. Whether it was the Wanshou Heaven's dragons or the Wanshou Heaven's Blood Moon Ridge, they were both heaven-grade forces with the longest legacies in the Wanshou Heaven. They had deep foundations and strong foundations that other heaven-grade forces like the Boundless Heaven's Heaven Pool Palace and the Solitary Destructive Heaven's Heaven Sword Ridge could not compare to. Because of this, the Dragon Clan and Blood Moon Ridge would impart to them some common knowledge about demon beasts to them when they were not cultivating. This included some divine beasts that had appeared in the history of the Devata realms. For example, there was a 10-clawed divine dragon among the dragons. A 10-clawed divine dragon would appear once every 100,000 years. The 10-clawed divine dragon was a 10-clawed divine dragon. The heavenly emperor of a Devata realm was a 10-clawed divine dragon. He was the only 10-clawed divine dragon in the history of the dragons in the Wanshou Heaven's Blood Moon Ridge. There were also divine beasts in the Blood Moon Ridge. However, unlike the 10-clawed divine dragon that appeared once every 100,000 years, the appearance of a divine beast in the Blood Moon Ridge depended on luck. Over a long period of time, only one divine beast would appear every several 100,000 years. Sometimes, 2 or more divine beasts would appear in the Blood Moon Ridge. In the history of the Blood Moon Ridge, the most famous divine beast was the 9 Depths God-slaying mouse. The current lord of Blood Moon Ridge was a direct descendant of the 9 Depths God-slaying mouse. Currently, many powerhouses in the Blood Moon Ridge were rat-type celestial beasts. For example, the Lord of Blood Moon Ridge and the Grand Elder of Blood Moon Ridge were rat-type celestial beasts. Due to this reason, Little Gold, who had obtained the legacy blood pool from Blood Moon Ridge in the mundane realm, had undergone an extraordinary transformation and was now a top-tier celestial beast, was treated very well in Blood Moon Ridge. Moreover, the Grand Elder of Blood Moon Ridge treated her like his own granddaughter. The 1,000 Phantoms Ice Fox is a divine beast that appears once every 1 million years in the Phantom Fox clan. I didn't expect to see 1,000 phantoms ice fox in my lifetime. Jining Yun sighed emotionally. Then, she turned to look at Little Black and Little White as she thought to herself. In the history of the Devata realms, the Dragon Clan's 10-clawed divine dragon only appears once every 100,000 years, but the Phantom Fox Clan's 1,000 Phantoms Ice Fox might not appear. However, if 1,000 Phantoms Ice Fox appears once every 1,000,000 years, a 10-clawed divine dragon would appear as well. It seems like a 10-clawed divine dragon will appear soon. Little Black and Little White have the highest chance of becoming a 10-clawed divine dragon. Who will it be? Jining Yun was very curious about this matter. The high-ranking dragons of the 10,000 Beasts Heaven had met more than once. They all agreed that Little Black or Little White had the highest chance of becoming a 10-clawed divine dragon. Both of them had the highest chance of becoming a 10-clawed divine dragon. You're Huan right? Let me treat your mother, Jining Yun said with a faint smile as she walked up to Huan. Huan looked at Duan Lingtian for the first time after hearing Jining Yun's words. When she saw Duan Lingtian nodding, she nodded at Jining Yun and stepped aside. You have a good daughter. Jining Yun nodded at Lian Qiu and the white fox in his arms. She narrowed her eyes and a white holy energy shot out from her body. It was like holy light that enveloped the white fox in Lian Qiu's arms. In the next moment, the white fox's external injuries healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. I've long heard that the law of light is even better than the law of wood when it comes to healing injuries. It seems like the rumors are true. Duan Lingtian sighed inwardly when he saw this. In just half an hour, Jining Yun had healed the white fox's external injuries. She had also healed most of its internal injuries. When Jining Yun retracted her hand, sweat could be seen dripping down her forehead. However, as soon as she withdrew her hand, the sweat evaporated. Swoosh. At the same time, the white fox in Lian Qiu's arms disappeared. It was replaced by a woman in a white dress who resembled Huan. Thank you, Fourth Elder. The woman was none other than Du Xian. As soon as she appeared, she thanked Jining Yun. Although she was severely injured, she could not communicate with the outside world. She was still aware of what was happening in the outside world. Although she was in Lian Qiu's little world, she was still aware of what was happening in the outside world. All right. Jining Yun nodded at Du Xian. Mother. When she saw that Du Xian had transformed into a human and looked exactly the same as when she left, she was very excited. She quickly rushed forward and hugged Du Xian. You've grown up. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. When I left, I was worried that something might have happened to you. However, I had no choice but to leave because I didn't want to see your father one last time. I was selfish. Please don't blame me, all right? Upon seeing the family reunited, Duan Lingtian and Jining Yun exchanged a look before they left with Little Black, Little White, and Little Gold. Duan Lingtian, what do you plan to do next? Jining Yun asked Duan Lingtian. Not yet. Duan Lingtian shook his head. Then his eyes glinted. However, I'll try my best to break through and become a celestial emperor as soon as possible. Only after he became a celestial emperor would he be able to fuse profundities from the law of space. Otherwise, no matter how heaven-defying a supreme powerhouse's divinity was, he would not be able to fuse profundities from the law of space. If you don't have any plans, you can come to the dragons, Jining Yun said with a smile. Then, she glanced at Little Black and Little White who were standing at the side and said, I'm sure these two little fellows want you to come with us to the dragons as well. As soon as Jining Yun finished speaking, Little Black and Little White turned to look at Duan Lingtian expectantly. Just as Jining Yun had said, Duan Lingtian's words were true. If it was possible, they naturally hoped that Lingtian would come with them to the dragons. Brother Lingtian, come with us. We'll cultivate together. When the spatial tunnel between the Devata realms and the divine offering land opens in 700 years, we'll go and rescue Sister Kerr and Sister Fei. Little White said to Duan Lingtian. Brother Lingtian, if you don't want to go to the dragons, you can come to the Blood Moon Ridge. After all, the Blood Moon Ridge isn't inferior to the dragons. Little Gold giggled. Senior, I appreciate your kindness. However, at this moment I already have a plan for what to do next. Duan Lingtian was clearly rejecting Jining Yun's offer. What's your plan? Jining Yun asked curiously. What was his plan that was better than joining the dragons? One had to know that there were countless people who wanted to join the dragon clan. However, this young man did not seem to care about joining the dragons at all. However, when she thought about how this young man was stronger than Little White and Little Black even though he was not even 300 years old, she was not surprised. Indeed, this young man had the confidence to do so. Moreover, this young man seemed to be the direct successor of Feng Qingyang, the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. Purgatory. Duan Lingtian's eyes shone brightly at this moment. Chapter 3350. The Purgatory? Jining Yun's eyes widened. She did not expect Duan Lingtian would want to go to such a place. The Purgatory would not appear at any time. The Purgatory would only appear when the spatial passages between the Devata realms and the realms of gods were forcefully sealed. It would appear once every 10,000 years, and each time it appeared, it would last for 1,000 years. This time the Purgatory had appeared more than 200 years ago. It was said that every 10,000 years, the realms of gods would collide with each other and seal the spatial passages between the Devata realms and the realms of gods. At the same time, the realms of gods would collide and form a realm battlefield. It was a place where people from the realms of gods would most likely die if they entered. The entrance to the realm battlefield was located in the realms of gods. Unless people from the Devata realms had a way to travel to the realms of gods, they would not be able to enter the realm battlefield. Legend had it that the collisions between the realms of gods and the appearance of the realm battlefield were the handiwork of supreme powerhouses. The various fortuitous encounters in the realm battlefield were also left behind by supreme powerhouses. Supreme powerhouses who stood at the peak of heaven and earth usually took pleasure in the realm battlefield. When the realm battlefield appeared in the realms of gods, two similar realm battlefields appeared in the Devata realms as well. They were the Purgatory battlefield and the Nine Serenities battlefield. The Purgatory battlefield was open to celestial lords and below celestial emperors. There were all kinds of fortuitous encounters and fortuitous encounters. One could either obtain fortuitous encounters or exchange military merits for a chance to enter a secret realm. If one had sufficient military merits, one could obtain a chance to enter a secret realm. As for the Nine Serenities battlefield, it was a battlefield for celestial emperors. Many titled celestial emperors would enter the Nine Serenities battlefield to temper themselves and obtain outstanding military merits to become famous in the Devata realms. There were not many titled celestial emperors in the Devata realms, but there were still quite a number of them. However, if a titled celestial emperor wanted to spread his presence in the Devata realms, the Nine Serenities battlefield was undoubtedly the best way to do so. Regardless of whether one entered the Purgatory battlefield or the Nine Serenities battlefield, obtaining a certain amount of military merits could even allow one to obtain a military rank. Military ranks were awarded according to the upper limit of military merits, and not according to the military merits in hand. As long as one had obtained a certain military rank, even if one had used up all of it, the military rank that was originally obtained would still be added to the military merits of the military rank. People with high military ranks even had the opportunity to enter a secret realm every once in a while. That was a gift from the battlefield. Whether it's the Purgatory battlefield or the Nine Serenities battlefield, the mastermind is a supreme powerhouse. In the eyes of a supreme powerhouse, whether it's the Purgatory battlefield, the Nine Serenities battlefield, or the realm battlefield in the realms of gods, it's just a game they play when they're bored. This was what the world-cleansing divine water had told Duan Lingtian. The world-cleansing divine water continued to say, the three battlefields are all planned by a group of supreme powerhouses. To them, the things they leave behind in the battlefields are treasures to ordinary people. However, to them, the things they leave behind are no different from trash. They use trash to attract a group of people to enter the battlefields. That's how they enjoy it. As for those extremely powerful experts, due to boredom, they would often gather together and use the people who entered the battlefield as the stakes for their bets. When Duan Lingtian first heard the world-cleansing divine water's words, he was slightly disgusted. After all, he did not like the feeling of being treated like a pawn or a puppet. However, after thinking about it for a while, he felt relieved. Perhaps, when he became a supreme powerhouse, he would also play this game out of boredom. At that time, whether it was celestials or gods, they would be nothing in their eyes. In fact, in the three battlefields they would only be their toys. If you don't want to be treated like a pawn and be treated like a puppet, you'll have to reach that height yourself. The world-cleansing divine water's words were, without a doubt, a form of motivation for Duan Lingtian. Heaven and earth were merciless and treated all living beings like dogs. However, when one was above heaven and earth, there was no need for one to follow the rules of heaven and earth. Similarly, if one did not want to be treated like a pawn or a toy, one would have to reach the same height as the supreme powerhouses. Do you really plan to enter the Purgatory battlefield? Ji Ningyun said solemnly, although there are many fortuitous encounters for celestial lords in the Purgatory battlefield, those fortuitous encounters are much better than staying in a heaven-grade force or even a heavenly emperor's force. However, there are many benefits and at the same time, the risks are also commensurate. There's only one way to obtain merit points in the Purgatory battlefield, and that's to kill your opponent and obtain their merit points. Although you're strong and can even injure a titled Celestial Emperor from the Heavenly Pool Palace, I'm sure you won't be able to use that technique every single time. Moreover, there are many titled Celestial Lords who are comparable to Celestial Emperors who have died in the Purgatory battlefield. After all, there are many titled Celestial Lords in the Purgatory battlefield who form small groups to hunt and kill the stronger titled Celestial Lords. If it's possible, even if you don't want to join the dragons, I hope you can join the Heavenly Palace of the Solitary Destructive Heaven. When Heavenly Emperor Feng Qingyang returns, he'll definitely nurture you as his successor. That way you'll be able to improve your strength in a short time. Clearly Jining Yun was trying to persuade Duanling Tian. Senior, you don't have to persuade me. Duanling Tian shook his head. I've made up my mind. The Purgatory battlefield. Even Little Black, Little White and Little Gold were shocked by Duanling Tian's words. They knew about the Purgatory battlefield, but they had never thought of entering it since it was filled with dangers. Many titled Celestial Lords who were comparable to titled Celestial Emperors had died in there. Although you have the two Ning dragons, they're Celestial Emperors. Even if you hide them in your little world, you won't be able to bring them into the Purgatory battlefield. The rules set by the supreme powerhouses won't allow them to enter the Purgatory battlefield. Jining Yun continued to say, I don't plan to bring them into the Purgatory battlefield. Duanling Tian smiled faintly. He had heard about this from the world-cleansing divine water. Even if the two Ning dragons and other celestial emperors were hidden in his little world, he would not be able to bring them into the Purgatory battlefield. However, according to the world-cleansing divine water, it was possible to bring the 5 divine elements into the Purgatory battlefield. Moreover, one could freely use the 5 divine elements' power. For this reason, Duanling Tian was not afraid of the Purgatory battlefield at all. Brother Ling Tian, I'll go with you. Little Gold said earnestly to Duanling Tian since she knew how dangerous the Purgatory battlefield was. At this moment, her usual playfulness was nowhere to be seen. Brother Ling Tian, I'll go with you as well. Little White chimed in. I'll go with Brother Ling Tian as well. Little Black chimed in as well. Don't the three of you know how dangerous the Purgatory battlefield is? Why are you joining in the fun? Jining Yun retorted. At this moment she regretted letting Little White and Little Black out. If she had known the person they were looking for was a madman who wanted to enter the Purgatory battlefield, she would not have allowed them to look for him. In the history of the dragons, many 9-clawed divine dragons who were titled Celestial Lords had perished in the Purgatory battlefield. 2 of her childhood friends were among the 9-clawed divine dragons. Those 2 childhood friends were a pair of lovers, but in the end they both died in the Purgatory battlefield. Because of this, she was very repulsed by the Purgatory battlefield. Not only had she never entered it, but she also didn't want Little White and Little Black to enter it. Both Little White and Little Black were the future hope of the Dragon Clan. After all, they had the potential to evolve into 10-clawed divine dragons. However, Jining Yun knew the tempers of these 2 little fellows very well. If she forcefully stopped them, it would only make them more sensitive. For this reason, she looked at Duanling Tian and said through voice transmission, Duanling Tian, I really don't think you should enter the Purgatory battlefield unless you have the strength to defeat a titled Celestial Emperor from the Heavenly Pool Palace. Otherwise, even if you're strong, it'll be difficult for you to come out alive. In the past, I had 2 childhood friends who were a couple. When they joined forces, their strength was comparable to a titled Celestial Emperor. Even then, they still died in the Purgatory battlefield. The Purgatory battlefield is not only dangerous for titled Celestial Lords, but it's also dangerous to enter the secret realms that contain fortuitous encounters. If you insist on entering the Purgatory battlefield, please help me persuade these 3 little fellows. Although Little Gold isn't a member of the dragons, she's still a treasure of the Blood Moon Ridge. If she follows you to the Purgatory battlefield, my old man and I won't be able to explain ourselves to the Blood Moon Ridge. As for Little Black and Little White, they're the most likely to evolve into 10-clawed divine dragons. We can't afford to lose them. Jining Yun said. Senior, the Purgatory battlefield is a fortuitous encounter for me. It's also a fortuitous encounter for Little Black, Little White and Little Gold. Duanling Tian said to Jining Yun. It was not convenient for him to explain the strength of the 5 divine elements since he could not use the same strength to defeat Lei Ying, the merciless celestial emperor of the Heavenly Pool Palace. However, if Little Black and the others wanted to enter the Purgatory battlefield, he would not stop them. I'm begging you. What do you think? Jining Yun said, this time it's my old man who saved you. Just treat it as returning the favor. What do you think? Duan Lingtian felt pressured when he heard Ji Ningyun's words through voice transmission. He smiled bitterly and said, "Senior, if you insist, what else can I say? Don't worry, leave it to me to persuade them." Duan Lingtian did not expect Ji Ningyun would bring up the matter of Ji Yunyan saving his life. Since the other party had said so, what else could he do? Chapter 33:51. The three little fellows could be stubborn in front of Ji Ningyun, but it was impossible for them to be stubborn in front of Duan Lingtian. For this reason they had no choice but to obey Duan Lingtian. However, while they had no choice but to listen, they still had their own insistence. "Big brother Lingtian, I'm worried that you'll be in danger. If we go with you, we'll be able to take care of each other. That way you won't have to worry about anyone joining forces to deal with you. Brother Lingtian, if the fourth elder asks you to persuade us through voice transmission, you can just deal with her. At most, we'll sneak out to meet you after we return to the purgatory battlefield. Brother Lingtian, I still want to go with you." Duan Lingtian's heart was filled with warmth when he heard the three little fellows' voice transmission. "Think about it yourselves." Duan Lingtian said to the three little fellows through voice transmission, "I won't be leaving the Saint Province realm for the time being. I'll give you 3 years. If you really want to go with me, you can come to the Saint Province realm and look for me within 3 years. Once you're here, we'll set off." Duan Lingtian did not have anything to worry about when it came to the three little fellows. Although they had not seen each other for more than 200 years, he could clearly feel the feelings that the three little fellows had for him. Compared to the past, not only did their feelings for him not fade with the passage of time, but they had become even stronger. Even if the three little fellows knew about the 5 divine elements, they would not harm him. Duan Lingtian knew he would not be in danger when he entered the purgatory battlefield. If the three little fellows were willing to go with him, there would only be benefits and no harm. If he were to be selfish, he hoped the three little fellows would sneak out and enter the purgatory battlefield with him while he dealt with Ji Ningyun. As expected, when the three little fellows heard Duan Lingtian's voice transmission, a hint of light flashed in the depths of their eyes. They were already tempted. Now, with the indirect support of Duan Lingtian, they no longer needed to hesitate or consider. "Before I came to this mundane realm with you, I communicated with the old man via voice transmission. After the matter in the boundless heaven is over, he will return to the dragons." Ji Ningyun looked at Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Xiao Jin and said, "So, you can spend some time with your big brother Lingtian." "Yes." In order not to arouse Ji Ningyun's suspicion, Little Black, Little White, and Little Gold stayed in the Saint Province realm for a period of time. During this time they had become close friends with Huan. After all, no one disliked Huaner's character. Even Ji Ningyun got along well with Huan. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. After exchanging soul pearls with Duan Lingtian, the three little fellows left the Saint Province realm with Ji Ningyun and returned to the Wanshou heaven. Naturally, before they left, they sent messages to Duan Lingtian, telling him they would return soon. "Senior Lianqiu, Senior Du Xian, what do you plan to do next?" After the three little fellows left, Duan Lingtian asked Lianqiu and Du Xian. Since he and Huaner would be entering the purgatory battlefield soon, he had to make sure Lianqiu and Du Xian were safe before entering the purgatory battlefield. "We plan to stay in the Saint Province realm for a period of time," Du Xian replied. Du Xian looked at Duan Lingtian as though she was a mother-in-law looking at her son-in-law. She was extremely satisfied. "We can only talk about the rest after you return from the purgatory battlefield." Although he and Lianqiu were aware of the dangers in the purgatory battlefield, they were confident in their abilities. However, they were impressed by Duan Lingtian's confidence. Moreover, Lianqiu had witnessed Duan Lingtian injuring Lei Ying, the merciless celestial emperor from the Heavenly Pool Palace, a heaven-grade force in the boundless heaven. After all, Lei Ying was not an ordinary titled celestial emperor. Even Lianqiu did not know how Duan Lingtian managed to injure her. For this reason, they were not worried about Duan Lingtian's safety. Moreover, Duan Lingtian had asked their daughters to wait for him while he entered the Heavenly Pool Palace alone. Based on this, they knew Duan Lingtian would not allow their daughters to follow him into the Heavenly Pool Palace if he was not confident. With this thought in mind, they were even more relieved. "All right." Duan Lingtian nodded. In the following days, Huan spent most of her time with Du Xian and Lianqiu. Under Duan Lingtian's lead, they traveled to every corner of the Saint Province realm. During this time, Huan would tell them about Duan Lingtian's experiences in the Saint Province realm. It was only at this time that Du Xian and Lianqiu learned about Duan Lingtian's journey to the Saint Province realm was like a miracle. One of them was born in the Phantom Fox clan while the other was born in a prominent clan. After he rose to prominence, he joined the Heavenly Sword Mountain and was accepted as a disciple by a titled celestial emperor there. In just a blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. Duan Ling Tian did not see Little Black and Little White. Instead he saw Little Gold. Brother Ling Tian, before I sneaked out, I contacted them. They said the Grand Elder and the 4th Elder of the Dragon's clan are keeping a close eye on them. They don't stand a chance at all. Moreover, they don't dare to make any big moves. If they're discovered, they won't be able to escape. Little Gold said to Duan Ling Tian, the Grand Elder told us to wait for them for a year. If they don't show up in a year, they won't be able to escape. At that time we'll go to the Purgatory battlefield ourselves. All right. Duan Ling Tian nodded. He was happy for Little Black and Little White. Based on the current situation, the Grand Elder of the Dragon's clan valued Little Black and Little White more than he had expected. This was a good thing for both Little Black and Little White. He was happy to see it happen. Then we'll wait for them for a year. Duan Ling Tian nodded. However, after a year Little Black and Little White had yet to show up. Little Gold made a trip to the 10,000 Beasts Heaven to confirm that Little Black and Little White were unable to leave. After that, she had no choice but to travel to the Purgatory battlefield with Duan Ling Tian and Huan. There were entrances to the Purgatory battlefield in all Devata realms. However, the exit was not fixed. Usually, one would be teleported to the Devata realm where they entered the Purgatory battlefield. Brother Ling Tian, that should be the entrance to the Purgatory battlefield, Little Gold said as she looked at Little Gold. In the Jade Emperor territory in the Jade Emperor heaven, Little Gold said to Duan Ling Tian as she looked at the 2-story building in front of them. It was Duan Ling Tian's idea to use the Purgatory battlefield in the Jade Emperor territory. After all, no matter which Devata realm one was in, the Purgatory battlefield would be the same. All right. Duan Ling Tian, Little Gold, and Duan Ling Tian saw many buildings that resembled small altars. Currently, some of the altars were placed on top of the altars. After inscribing their names on the altars, they would be transported away. Brother Ling Tian, after we carve our names on these stone altars, we'll be teleported to the Purgatory battlefield, Little Gold said to Duan Ling Tian. When she was still in the Blood Moon Ridge in the 10,000 Beasts Heaven, she had studied the Purgatory battlefield in detail. If there's someone with the same name as you in the Blood Moon Ridge, you won't be able to use your name. After entering the Purgatory battlefield, if you kill someone in there, your military merits will be increased. If you want to see your military merits, you'll be able to see the ranking in the Purgatory battlefield with just a thought. Of course, apart from your own military merits, you'll only be able to see the top 1,100 people in the Purgatory battlefield. Those who are ranked in the top 1,100 will have the military rank of commander. Those who are ranked behind them will have the military rank of lieutenant. As for those who aren't ranked in the top 1,100, they'll only have military merits but no military rank. Their military ranks are based on the maximum number of military merits they can obtain. Even if they use up all their military merits, their military ranks won't change. Military merits can be exchanged for a chance to enter a secret realm. A large number of military merits can even be exchanged for a chance to enter a secret realm alone. After listening to Little Gold's explanation, Duan Ling Tian gained a deeper understanding of the Purgatory battlefield. After all, he only knew a little about the Purgatory battlefield. It seems like it's possible to enter the Purgatory battlefield in groups. At the same time, Duan Ling Tian saw groups of 2 or 3 people walking up to the small altars. They wrote down their names at the same time before they were transported to the Purgatory battlefield. It seemed like these people would stay together after entering the Purgatory battlefield. Otherwise, why would they choose to enter the Purgatory battlefield? Little Gold, they'll appear in the same place after entering the Purgatory battlefield, right? Duan Ling Tian asked Little Gold. Yes. Little Gold nodded. Then she smiled and said, Brother Ling Tian, if we want to appear in the same place after entering the Purgatory battlefield, we'll have to choose the same transportation formation. As long as we don't take more than a breath to finish writing down our names, we'll definitely be transported to the same place. Otherwise we might make a mistake. Duan Ling Tian nodded in realization. Huan let's go together. Duan Ling Tian and Little Gold went up to one of the stone altars. Then, under Little Gold's guidance, both of them wrote down their names before they were transported to the Purgatory battlefield. When Duan Ling Tian's vision turned dark and bright, he discovered he was in a gloomy place. This place was shrouded in a layer of fog, blocking one's vision. One could not see too far ahead. Brother Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian snapped out of his daze when he heard the duo's voices. He tried to recite the words military merit in his heart. His name and military merit appeared in his mind. Duanling Tian 1 military merit. Ranking, 137-65th. Apart from that, Duanling Tian could see a ranking. There were 1,100 names on the ranking list. Clearly, this was the ranking of the 1,100 people who had military ranks. Chapter 3352. He's ranked 130,000 with only 1 military merit? Duanling Tian looked at Little Gold with a slight frown on his face. It seems like not many people have entered the Purgatory battlefield. Although the Purgatory battlefield was extremely dangerous, it was also filled with fortuitous encounters. Many people who were unable to become celestial emperors under normal circumstances had entered the Purgatory battlefield and obtained fortuitous encounters that allowed them to become titled celestial emperors. Some of them had even made a name for themselves in the Nine Serenities battlefield after becoming titled celestial emperors. For this reason, there were many celestial lords who had entered the Purgatory battlefield. Naturally, there were more celestial lords in the Devata realms. However, Duanling Tian had just entered the Nine Serenities battlefield, and yet he was ranked 130,000. This meant there were only about 130,000 people who had left their names on the Nine Serenities battlefield's military merit ranking. Brother Ling Tian. Upon hearing Duanling Tian's words, Little Gold shook her head and said with a smile, "We're ranked 130,000 because many people who entered the Purgatory battlefield and didn't obtain more than 2 military merit points would be removed from the military merit ranking. Apart from that, if someone didn't enter the Purgatory battlefield for more than 100 years after obtaining more than 2 military merit points, their names would also be removed from the military merit ranking. Most of these people had broken through to the Celestial Emperor realm and couldn't enter the Nine Serenities battlefield. For some reason, they couldn't enter the Nine Serenities battlefield within 100 years. If they wanted to enter the Nine Serenities battlefield after 100 years, they would have to start all over again. Currently, we're ranked 130,000. This means there are more than 100,000 people who obtained more than 2 military merit points in the past 100 years. Do you still think the number of people is low?" Little Gold asked with a smile. Upon hearing Little Gold's words, Duanling Tian pondered for a moment before realization dawned on him. If that was the case, then it made sense for them to be ranked over 130,000 when they had just entered the Purgatory battlefield. It was also enough to show how lively the Purgatory battlefield was. "Brother Ling Tian," Little Gold said. Then she continued to say, "Among the 1,100 people who are ranked at the top of the military merit ranking, it's not so bad for the 1,000 people who are ranked at the bottom. However, without exception, the first 100 people all relied on their own strength to kill their way up. Because, from lieutenant to commander, there's a bottleneck in terms of military merits. If Big Brother Ling Tian paid careful attention, it wouldn't be difficult to notice that those ranked 135th to 500th place on the military merits rankings all have the same military merits." When Duanling Tian heard Little Gold's words, he could not help but take another look at the military merit ranking. As expected, he noticed that among the 1,100 names on the military merit ranking, there were more than 400 people who had the same military merit ranking starting from the 135th place. This is because they haven't passed the advancement test of the Purgatory battlefield. In the Purgatory battlefield, when a person accumulates 1,000 points, there will be a bottleneck. Only by passing the Purgatory battlefield's advancement test can their military points be raised to 2,000 points. What determines the ranking is the upper limit. If you don't break the upper limit, no matter how many people you kill in the Purgatory battlefield, you won't be able to continue accumulating military merits. You can only obtain military merits in exchange for a chance to enter the secret territory. Duanling Tian glanced at the military merit ranking again and discovered that apart from the people ranked 135th to the 500th place who had 1,000 military merit points, the most outstanding among the over 40 people had 2,000 military merit points, while some of them had more than 1,000 military merit points. The 30 people ranked at the top all had 3,000 points. The 20 or so people in front of them all had 4,000 military merits. The 10 people ranked at the top all had 5,000 points. The 10 people ranked at the top all had 6,000 points. Only a few people had accumulated 7,000 military merits. Only 2 of them had accumulated 8,000 military merits. The upper limit of military points is a bottleneck every 1,000 points, just like the 2 people who are ranked first and second on the military points list. Their military points show that they have 8,000 points, but in reality, they have already accumulated more than 10,000 points, or even more than 100,000 points. Little Gold continued, because they have to pass the Purgatory battlefield's test to break the upper limit, it's difficult for a group of people. Is the test very difficult? Duan Ling Tian asked curiously. It gets harder as you progress. Moreover, you can only pass the test by yourself, Little Gold said. Duan Ling Tian nodded. In the purgatory battlefield, the celestial lords will also break the upper limit. It's called passing the tribulation. The upper limit is 1,000 points. Once they pass the tribulation, even if they don't make it into the top 100 and become a commander, they're still considered a top lieutenant, and can do whatever they want in the purgatory battlefield. Their strength is not much weaker than those commanders who have also broken the upper limit and made it into the top 100. Commanders who have broken the upper limit of 1,000 points are called first-class commanders. Commanders who have broken the upper limit of 2,000 points are called second-class commanders, and so on and so forth. Commanders who have broken the upper limit of 7,000 points are called seventh-class commanders. Little Gold paused for a moment to allow Duan Ling Tian to digest the information before she continued to say, "Rumor has it that the two commanders are stronger than most titled celestial emperors." What? A level 7 commander is stronger than most titled celestial emperors. Duan Ling Tian's pupils rapidly constricted as astonishment appeared on his face. Yes. Little Gold nodded. Then she smiled wryly and said, "When I first heard about this, I was shocked as well. After all, even a 7th-class commander is a 10 Directions Celestial Lord at most. No matter how powerful a 10 Directions Celestial Lord is, they won't be able to fuse profundities. How strong can a 10 Directions Celestial Lord be?" Upon hearing Little Gold's words, Duan Ling Tian nodded in agreement. However, Little Gold's eyes glinted as she said solemnly, "Some celestial lords can't be judged by the standards of ordinary celestial lords. This is because some celestial lords have heaven-defying abilities. For example, the legendary 5 divine elements and other heaven-defying techniques. Among them, celestial lords who possess high-level 5 divine elements are the strongest. The 5 divine elements." Duan Ling Tian was shocked when he heard Little Gold mention the 5 divine elements. There were celestial lords who possessed the 5 divine elements in the purgatory battlefield? Little Gold continued to say, "For example, the two commanders who have broken the upper limit of 7,000 points aren't ordinary celestial lords. In fact, ordinary celestial lords aren't even capable of breaking the upper limit of 4,000 points or 5,000 points. Even if a titled celestial lord has comprehended all the profundities from a law to the mastery stage, it's still not enough for him to break through the 1,000 military merit points limit. Unless he's not a human but some other life form with other powerful techniques." Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. For example, celestial beasts like me, Little Black and Little White. Of course, if Little Black, Little White and I have comprehended all the profundities from the law of heaven to the mastery stage and become 10 Directions celestial lords, with our strength, it's possible for us to surpass the 2,000 merit points limit. However, I'm afraid only divine beasts like Huan can break the upper limit of 3,000 points. Little Gold looked at Huan who was standing next to Duan Ling Tian after she finished speaking. Little Gold continued to say, "As for the upper limit, it's impossible for a non-human to break the upper limit. Unless one possesses the 5 divine elements or other similar techniques." Little Gold's eyes shone brightly. Little Gold's eyes lit up. For example, on the purgatory battlefield's military contribution ranking, most people suspect that they have the 5 divine elements in them. In fact, many people are trying to find out who they are so they can steal the 5 divine elements. However, it's almost impossible to find out who they are unless they're stupid enough to use their real names. After all, those who possess the 5 divine elements won't use their real names. Under such circumstances, it's impossible to find them outside the purgatory battlefield. As for those in the purgatory battlefield, how many of them are afraid of the 5 divine elements? The purgatory battlefield is their home, and they can use the power of the 5 divine elements as they wish. Moreover, in this purgatory battlefield, as long as you think, transform, you can transform into a different appearance. No matter if it's the appearance or the aura, it will undergo tremendous changes. No one can recognize you. Almost as soon as Xiao Jin's voice fell, her entire body had turned into a tall and sturdy stone person with a huge body. Duan Ling Tian was still in a daze when Little Gold said softly, "Dispel the transformation." Little Gold returned to her original form immediately. The 5 divine elements. Upon hearing Little Gold's words, Duan Ling Tian could not help but ask the world-cleansing divine water in his little world, "Sister Water, why didn't you tell me this earlier? You didn't ask me to enter the purgatory battlefield just so I could obtain some fortuitous encounters, right? You wanted to use this opportunity to upgrade your form as well as theirs, right?" At this moment, Duan Lingtian finally understood the world-cleansing divine water's intention. Yes. I didn't tell you earlier because I didn't want you to overthink it, the world-cleansing divine water replied. No matter what, you still have a chance to regret your decision. After all, there are many people in the purgatory battlefield who possess a form of the 5 divine elements. If we join forces, we might be able to deal with a 7th form 5 divine element. However, if it's an 8th form 5 divine element, it'll be difficult for us to deal with it even if we join forces. If we're lucky, we'll be fine. At this point, the world-cleansing divine water's voice turned grave. Once we're annihilated, you'll definitely be killed by the person who possesses the 8th form of the divine elements. Naturally, there might not be anyone in the purgatory battlefield who possesses an 8th form 5 divine element. Then she added, however, I can only say that there might not be anyone in the purgatory battlefield who possesses an 8th form 5 divine element. Duan Lingtian's eyes glinted as he looked at Huan and Little Gold and said, Huan Little Gold, let's go. Chapter 3353. Leave? Both Huan and Little Gold were stunned when they heard Duan Lingtian's words. No matter what decision Duan Lingtian made, she would support him unconditionally. Therefore, she did not have any doubts about his decision at all. However, Little Gold could not help but ask, Brother Lingtian, what's wrong? Why do you want to leave? At this moment, the 5 divine elements, including the world-cleansing divine water, thought Duan Lingtian was leaving the purgatory battlefield because he did not want to take the risk. Therefore, they respected Duan Lingtian's decision. Moreover, if Duan Lingtian chose to enter the purgatory battlefield, they would have to take the risk as well. After all, they might encounter 7th form or 8th form 5 divine elements. I don't want to be the person you said is stupid enough to use my real name. Duan Lingtian looked at Little Gold and shook his head with a smile. Huh. Little Gold was taken aback by Duan Lingtian's words. Then her eyes lit up. Brother Lingtian, do you mean you have the 5 divine elements as well? Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. Brother Lingtian, why didn't you say so earlier? Oh, I should have told you earlier. Little Gold shook her head with a bitter smile on her face. How do we leave? Duan Lingtian asked. If we want to leave, we'll have to find a transportation point. Just think, transportation point, in your mind and we'll be guided there. The reason the purgatory battlefield is so complicated and can't be teleported out with just a thought is to prevent people from leaving the purgatory battlefield if they encounter an opponent they can't defeat. Little Gold said. When Duan Lingtian heard this, the thought of a transportation point immediately appeared in his mind. In the next moment, he noticed that there seemed to be an invisible will guiding him in a certain direction. Over there. The direction Little Gold pointed to was the direction Duan Lingtian had sensed the invisible will was leading them to. With this, Duan Lingtian and the others made their way to the transportation point. Duan Lingtian didn't know what the entire purgatory battlefield was like. He only knew that the place he passed through now was a dim world that couldn't see the slightest bit of light, and it caused one's mood to be unable to help but be slightly oppressed. As time passed, one couldn't help but become slightly irritable. About half an hour later, Duan Lingtian and his 2 companions finally arrived at the transportation formation. The stone platform hovering in the air was almost identical to the stone platform that was sent in from the outside. Let's go out. Duan Lingtian, Duan Lingtian, Duan Huan. Duan Lingtian's names appeared on the stone table. Duan Lingtian. Huan Duan Xiaojin. We only have 1 military merit now. After we leave, our names will be removed from the military merit list. If we have more than 2 military merits now, it will be more troublesome. We need to not enter the purgatory battlefield for 100 years before our names will be removed from the military merit list. Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian nodded. A few moments later, Duan Lingtian and the others were transported out of the transportation point. Since they were transported together, they appeared in the same place after leaving the transportation point. Of course, they did not arrive at the teleportation point in the Jade Emperor Weave in the Jade Emperor Heaven that led to the purgatory battlefield. Instead, they appeared in the sky above a wasteland. Moreover, they appeared near 2 celestial emperors who were sparring. As soon as they appeared, the 2 celestial emperors stopped fighting. The sudden appearance of the 3 celestial emperors attracted the attention of the 2 celestial emperors. The 2 celestial emperors were middle-aged men who looked similar to each other. Their eyes were filled with lust when they looked at Huan. Let's go. Duan Lingtian glanced at the 2 celestial emperors indifferently. Then he activated his spatial energy and prepared to leave with Huan and Little Jean. Duan Lingtian was the leader of the 3 celestial emperors. Now that he had activated his spatial energy, it was only natural that the two celestial emperors realized he was only a celestial lord. A celestial lord? Brother, why don't you let me choose first this time? I want the white-clad girl and you can have the golden-clad girl. One of the celestial emperors, a middle-aged man dressed in a green robe, said with a grin on his face. The green-clad middle-aged man scoffed. In your dreams. This girl in white, I want her. You can have the golden-clad girl. If you're not convinced, you can defeat me first. The green-clad middle-aged man said. The green-clad middle-aged man smiled awkwardly before he said, when you're tired of her, you can give her to me. We'll talk about it then. The green-clad middle-aged man said indifferently. However, let's kill that brat first. It's awkward to have a man around, the green-clad middle-aged man said with a chuckle. The green-robed middle-aged man chuckled again. With a sway of his body, he seemed to have transformed into a ball of flame as he charged toward Duan Tian. Killing intent flashed in Duan Tian's eyes when he heard the conversation between the two middle-aged men. His expression darkened when he saw the green-clad middle-aged man making a move. Then he called out to the 5 divine elements in his little world and borrowed their energy. At the same time, the divine artifact, the 7 orifices exquisite sword, appeared in his hand. It turned into a 7-colored ray of light as it pierced through the air. At the same time he merged with the 7-colored sword ray. How dare a mere celestial lord like you make a move in front of me? The green-clad middle-aged man who had turned into a ball of fire charged toward Duan Tian. He did not expect a mere celestial lord would dare to make a move against him. However, when he got closer to his opponent, he felt an unprecedented sense of danger. No. Impossible. It must be an illusion. Swoosh. When the 7-colored sword ray collided with the flames, Xiao Jin was shocked to see the 7-colored sword ray pierce through the flames and killed the celestial emperor on the spot. Moreover, after killing the celestial emperor, the 7-colored sword ray continued to charge toward the green-clad middle-aged man. Oh no! The green-clad middle-aged man did not even have the time to think about how a celestial lord could be so powerful when he saw his brother being killed. His first thought was to run away. However, when the thought of running away appeared in his mind, the 7-colored sword ray had already awakened. No, at this moment he realized that it was impossible for him to run away. He could only take out his celestial artifact and activate all his energy to block the 7-colored sword ray. However, although he was slightly stronger than his brother, he was not that much stronger. His defense was nothing in front of the 7-colored sword light. It was easily broken through. Then the 7-colored sword light enveloped his entire body. Before he died, he clearly discovered that in addition to the aura of the laws of space, there was also the aura of the laws of the 5 elements within the 7-colored sword ray. The aura of the law of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth could be felt. How is this possible? Until his death, he still could not figure out how a single person could possess so many different types of laws. It did not make sense at all. After killing the green-clad middle-aged man, the 7-colored sword ray turned around and returned to Huaner and Xiao Jin's side. At the same time, Duan Lingtian's figure reappeared. His purple robes were spotless. In his hand, the 3-foot-long blade wrapped in rainbow light also merged into his body at the right time. Brother Lingtian, you have 5 types of divine elements? Xiao Jin looked at Duan Lingtian in shock. She was right next to Duan Lingtian. Moreover, Duan Lingtian did not conceal the power of the divine elements. Therefore, she could clearly sense the power of 5 different types of laws. It was the aura of the law of the 5 elements. However, her brother Lingtian had comprehended the law of space. The sudden appearance of 5 different types of laws was undoubtedly the aura of the divine elements. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. This is too inconceivable, right? Xiao Jin was dumbstruck. She couldn't imagine that someone could possess all 5 divine elements at the same time. This was something that she didn't even dare to think about. Brother Lingtian, how did you obtain them? Xiao Jin asked curiously. Let's look for the transportation point to the purgatory battlefield first. Let's go, Duan Lingtian said with a smile. At this moment, Xiao Jin noticed the calm expression on Huaner's face. She was leaning against Brother Lingtian and holding onto his arm. Huaner, you already knew? Xiao Jin asked in surprise. Yes. Since Brother Lingtian treated Xiao Jin like a younger sister, it was only natural for her to treat Xiao Jin like a younger sister as well, even if Xiao Jin was older than her. On their way to the transportation point, Duan Lingtian answered Xiao Jin's questions one by one. He had nothing to hide from Xiao Jin since he knew Xiao Jin would not harm him. Brother Ling Tian, I didn't think you'd be so lucky. 5 divine elements, and all of them are 6-form divine elements, are willing to stay in your body. Xiao Jin sighed emotionally. However, you might encounter danger in the purgatory battlefield. Others might not be able to detect the divine elements, but those who also possess the divine elements will be able to detect them. Xiao Jin's expression turned solemn as she spoke. She was worried for Duan Ling Tian. I know. Duan Ling Tian nodded. Then he smiled faintly. Don't just worry about me. Why don't you worry about those who possess the divine elements as well? They can steal the 5 divine elements in my body and let the 5 divine elements in their bodies devour the 5 divine elements in my body. Can't I let the 5 divine elements in my body devour the 5 divine elements in their bodies? Although the purgatory battlefield is dangerous, it's also a great opportunity for me. Furthermore, am I really that unlucky to have met someone who possesses the 8th form of the divine elements right from the start? Duan Ling Tian shook his head when he reached the end of his sentence. Soon after, the 3 of them arrived at the transportation point to the purgatory battlefield. Chapter 3354. This time Duan Ling Tian did not use his real name. Instead he changed his name to Xia Feiwu. Xia Feiwu was named after Ke, a member of the Xia clan in the Divine Offering Land. As for Fei, it was a homonym for Li Fei's Fei. As for Wu, it was a homonym for Feng Tianwu's Wu. As for Huaner, she changed her name to Du Tianling. Naturally, her original surname was Lian after her father's surname. She changed her surname to Du, which was the same as her mother's surname. As for Tianling, it was a homonym for Ling Tian. As for Little Gold, she changed her name to Jianghu. Her surname was Jin, and her surname was Yu from Blood Moon Ridge, a heaven-grade force in the 10,000 Beasts Heaven. After all, Little Gold could be considered a member of Blood Moon Ridge. Xia Feiwu, Du Tianling and Jianghu. Duan Ling Tian, Huan and Huan entered the purgatory battlefield again under their pseudonyms. Their previous rankings had been erased. Naturally, even if they were not erased, no one would be able to see them except for the supreme experts. Of course, even if the ultimate powerhouses were the ones in charge of this game, it was basically impossible for them to look at those at the bottom of the rankings. Let's change our appearances as well. Duan Ling Tian said to Huan and Little Gold. Subsequently, Duan Ling Tian transformed into a young man who was about 16 or 17 years old. He was dressed in a snow-white robe. He had a handsome appearance and an extraordinary temperament. It was as though he was a young scholar who had walked out of a painting. He was completely different from the previous him. At the same time, Huan also transformed into a young girl in a long white dress. She looked to be about 15 or 16 years old. Although she did not have the peerless elegance, she was still very cute and delicate. As for Xiao Jin, she simply transformed into a little girl wearing a light yellow dress. She looked no more than 10 years old and had 2 small braids on her head. She was delicate and cute. Even if Little Black and Little White are here, they won't be able to recognize us. Little Gold laughed. Of course. You've changed so much. Duan Ling Tian also shook his head with a smile and then said, in the future, let's communicate via voice transmission as much as possible. This was to prevent him from inadvertently revealing information about his original identity. Unless we can ensure the death of all those who have discovered traces of our original identities, there is still a potential threat. Yes, we'll communicate via voice transmission in the future. Xiao Jin responded. As for Huaner, she naturally had no objections. Little Gold, in this purgatory battlefield, military exploits are awarded. Whoever kills the person gets the military exploits. Duan Ling Tian remembered that Xiao Jin had mentioned this before. Yes. Xiao Jin replied, whoever kills the person gets the military merit. Even if you want to give the military merit, it's best to injure the person to the point where he's on the verge of death and let someone else finish him off. Only then can the latter get the military merit. Otherwise, even if you leave after killing them, the military merit will still be yours. Xiao Jin sent a voice transmission to further confirm. Yes. Duan Ling Tian nodded. In just a blink of an eye, it had been a month since Duan Ling Tian, Huaner and Xiao Jin entered the purgatory battlefield. However, during this month they had only encountered a few people. Moreover, their opponents did not have much military merit. Although they were all killed by Duan Ling Tian's ranking did not increase by much. In fact, he did not even enter the top 100,000. Little Gold, let's head to the Purgatory of Myriad Changes. Duan Ling Tian said to Xiao Jin. The Purgatory of Myriad Changes was located at the center of the Purgatory battlefield. It was also where most of the free secret realms appeared. For this reason, More than half of the people who entered the purgatory battlefield fought in the purgatory of myriad changes. Many people died in the purgatory of myriad changes every day. Of course, it was also because of this that it was the quickest place to gain military merits. The so-called free secret realms referred to secret realms that did not require military merit to enter. They would appear indiscriminately, and those who discovered them would be able to enter as soon as possible. When the number of people who entered the secret realms reached a certain number, the entrance to the secret realms would disappear. Those who entered the secret realms could seek their own fortuitous encounters while exploring the secret realms. In the purgatory of myriad changes, not only were there strong people who wanted to obtain more points, but there were also those who wanted to enter the secret realms to seek their own fortuitous encounters. In short, the purgatory of myriad changes could be said to be the heaven and hell of the purgatory battlefield. One could live or die with a single thought. Brother Ling Tian, why don't we keep a low profile? Although the purgatory of myriad changes is vast, it's denser than other places. If we're unlucky and encounter someone with an 8th-form divine element, how are you going to deal with them? Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Xiao Jin disagreed. Based on her words, it was clear she was worried about Duan Lingtian's safety. If Brother Ling Tian did not possess the 5 divine elements, it would be fine. Even if he was not as strong as he was now, at least he would not be targeted by those who possessed the 5 divine elements. Since Duan Ling Tian possessed all 5 divine elements, those who possessed any of the 5 divine elements would definitely target him, unlike those who possessed the same 5 divine elements as their target. For example, in the purgatory of myriad changes, those who possessed the profound divine metal would only take the initiative to attack those who possessed the same profound divine metal. Those who possessed other 5 divine elements were no different from others in the eyes of the purgatory of myriad changes. After all, the purgatory of myriad changes would not be able to raise the 5 divine elements in their bodies. Moreover, if the purgatory of myriad changes died, it would be impossible for them to reside in the purgatory of myriad changes. The 5 divine elements were extremely prideful, and they were unwilling to reside in the same body with different divine elements. For this reason, Duan Lingtian's case was extremely rare. Naturally, Duan Lingtian's case was due to the fact that he had taken in the 5 divine elements when they were still in their lower forms. At that time, their arrogance had not fully manifested. As for the world-cleansing divine water, it was naturally arrogant as well. However, since the main branch of the divine tree of life in Duan Lingtian's body had absorbed its master, the only divine tree of life in the ruins of a realm of gods, it wanted to leave the ruins of a realm of gods as well. That was why it was willing to reside in Duan Lingtian's body with the other 5 divine elements. Moreover, at that time she could only be considered as a latecomer. There might not be any 8th-form 5 divine elements in the purgatory battlefield. Duan Lingtian said with a smile. Even if there is, so what? Don't tell me that I can't kill its host before it attacks the divine elements in my body? Without its master, it'll lose its master. At most, it'll be able to protect itself, but it won't be able to devour the 5 divine elements in my body. Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed coldly when he finished speaking. He had told the world-cleansing divine water about this before. Naturally, it would be very dangerous for him to encounter such a situation. He did not make it sound as casual as he made it sound. Not only did he want to comfort Xiao Jin, but he also wanted to comfort Huan Er. This was because he could feel Huan Er's grip on his arm tighten. She was clearly worried about his safety. How could he tell the truth under such circumstances? I'll deal with whatever comes my way. I, Duan Lingtian, have never faced any difficulties before. Dangers? Fortune comes with danger. If anyone wants to kill me, they'll have to be prepared to die. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's eyes were filled with determination. Purgatory of myriad transformations. With just a thought, the purgatory of myriad transformations would appear in one's mind. It was similar to the teleportation points. Moreover, the closer one got to the purgatory of myriad transformations, the stronger the feeling of being guided. Duan Lingtian, Huan Er and Little Gold had been discussing this with each other. For this reason, the stronger the feeling, the more cautious they became. At the same time, in only a few days they had already killed more than 10 people. This was even more than the number of people they had killed in the previous month. This should be the purgatory of myriad transformations. All of a sudden, Duan Lingtian discovered that the dark wasteland he was in had suddenly transformed into a world filled with the color of blood. It was no longer a wasteland but a mountain range. The towering mountains and steep ridges were covered in blood, as if they were dyed in blood. Brother Lingtian, there seems to be more than one person over there. Xiao Jin's gaze soon fell on the side of the mountain range, behind a mountain that was neither too high nor too low. As a top-notch immortal beast and a rodent immortal beast, Xiao Jin had a sense of smell that was different from ordinary immortal beasts and even divine beasts. Upon hearing this, Duan Tian turned to look. At this moment, a surprised voice rang from the mountain peak in the distance. "We've been discovered? Brother Xian, that little girl doesn't seem human. Let alone humans, even ordinary celestial beasts won't be able to discover us. She must be a non-human with a keen sense of smell." As soon as the voices rang in the air, 4 figures appeared from behind the mountain peak. They were 4 young men dressed in identical green robes. Even their appearances were identical. Naturally, in the purgatory battlefield, even if they looked identical, it did not mean they were twins. They could use the purgatory battlefield's illusory technique to disguise themselves. Upon closer inspection, one could see the subtle differences between the 4 young men. "Consider yourself unlucky to have encountered the 4 of us," one of the young men said with a grin before he took the lead and stepped out. The other 3 also stepped into the air and followed him like shadows. In the next moment, the 4 of them split into 4 directions and surrounded Duan Tian's group of 3. It was as though a strange connection had been formed between them. "A formation?" Duan Tian raised an eyebrow. "We don't know who's the unlucky one here." Little Gold asked Duan Tian through voice transmission. After confirming that none of them possessed the 5 divine elements, Little Gold was relieved. She smiled at the 4 of them. Chapter 3355. In the purgatory battlefield, no immortal talismans could be used, including communication immortal talismans. However, immortal weapons and divine weapons could be used. At this moment, the 4 young men surrounding Duan Tian and his 2 companions each took out an immortal weapon. 2 of them wielded swords, 1 wielded a saber, and the last one wielded a spear. Whoosh, whoosh. The 4 young men took the initiative to attack. In the purgatory battlefield, survival was the most important thing. Everything else was meaningless. Therefore, in the purgatory battlefield, one could either live peacefully or be killed. The 4 young men combined their attacks in a mysterious way. The power they unleashed shocked Duan Tian. It was comparable to the full-powered attack of an ordinary celestial emperor. However, this level of attack was nothing to Duan Tian. "You can only consider yourselves unlucky to have met me." Duan Tian glanced at the 4 young men indifferently before he casually took out the 7 orifices exquisite sword. While the spatial energy wreaked havoc, he also unleashed the power of the 5 divine elements. Of course, he hadn't borrowed much of the 5 divine elements' power, so it wouldn't affect his ability to borrow power later on. After all, the 5 divine elements were in his lesser world. With the high-grade heaven and earth spiritual energy from the ruins of the realm of gods, they could recover quickly. Whoosh! Duan Tian swung his sword. Without any fancy moves, he simply swung his sword horizontally. A 7-colored light whizzed out and collided with the joint attack of the 4 young men in just a blink of an eye. In the next moment, swoosh, swoosh. The sword ray that shot out from the 7 orifices exquisite sword in Duan Tian's hand was like a 7-colored flood. It was vast and vigorous, instantly destroying the combined attack of the 4 young men. The terrifying energy roared and transformed into a bloody mouth that tried to devour the 4 young men. The law of space and the law of 5 elements? It's the 5 divine elements. 5 divine elements. Based on Duan Tian's strange attacks, they were certain Duan Tian possessed more than one of the 5 divine elements. Moreover, he possessed 5 of them. However, before they could even open their mouths, the rainbow-colored sword light had already annihilated them, wiping them all out. "Brother Tian, these 4 young men should have quite a lot of merit points, right? They seem to be quite strong." Little Jean asked Duan Tian with a smile on her face. Upon hearing this, Duan Tian looked at his merit points and said, Little Jin's merit points, I've made it into the top 10,000. As for their combined strength, they're comparable to an ordinary celestial emperor." Duan Little Jean. "So little?" Little Jean was slightly disappointed. "Their combined strength is comparable to an ordinary celestial emperor. In the purgatory battlefield, that's considered quite a feat. I didn't expect the 4 of them to contribute so much merit points to you, Brother Tian. You're only able to make it into the top 10,000. They must have just entered the purgatory battlefield," Duan Tian said with a smile. "Alright, let's take advantage of the terrain and find a place to hide. It's best if we can ambush them," Duan Tian said to Little Jean. As for Huaner, she would follow him wherever he went. The terrain of the purgatory of 10,000 changes would change every once in a while. Moreover, Not everyone in the purgatory of 10,000 changes would end up in the same place. Sometimes only two groups of people would end up in the same place. Other times, many groups of people would end up in the same place. Just like earlier. Duan Lingtian, and Huan suddenly discovered that the terrain they were standing on had changed. However, the four young men's location remained the same. It was Duan Lingtian, Huaner and Huaner who had entered the terrain where the four young men were. Now that Duan Lingtian, Huaner and Huaner were hiding, they would either be sent to the next terrain or be sent to the next one. As for Duan Lingtian's suggestion of finding a place to hide, it was to prevent anyone from being sent here. However, they did not take advantage of the terrain. They're here. Not long after Duan Lingtian, little Jean and Huaner hid behind a mountain peak, the sharp-eyed little Jean looked to the left and said, "There are two people over there. There's someone over there." Duan Lingtian, little Jean and Duan Lingtian, noticed that there was someone on the right as well. The two groups of people faced each other as soon as they appeared. 1 against 2? Little Jin's eyes lit up. Since he dares to come here alone, he must be strong. I wonder how strong he is and if he's a match for the two young men. We'll find out soon enough. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. At this moment, the Chaos Divine Flame's voice rang in Duan Lingtian's ears. "You're lucky. It's a fifth form Chaos Divine Flame." Upon hearing the Chaos Divine Flame's words, Duan Lingtian quickly shifted his gaze to the middle-aged man who was standing alone. The middle-aged man was dressed in a long green robe. He had an ordinary appearance and a huge saber appeared in his hands. Moreover, he had also comprehended the law of fire. The other two young men were quite strong as well. Their combined strength was close to that of a celestial emperor. In terms of combat strength, they were considered outstanding among celestial lords. As soon as the middle-aged man attacked, he unleashed a flaming blade light. At this time, he had not used the power of the chaotic divine flame in his body. "A fifth form chaos divine flame won't be able to detect you?" Duan Lingtian asked curiously. Although the world-cleansing divine water had told him this before, he only had a vague impression of it. From the beginning until now, the middle-aged man had not looked in Duan Lingtian's direction at all. It was clear the fifth form chaos divine flame had not detected the 5 divine elements in Duan Lingtian's body. "Ever since you entered the purgatory battlefield, we've been concealing our auras. Unless you make a move, the 5 divine elements won't be able to detect us," the world-cleansing divine water said. For example, the 5 divine elements will be able to detect the Chaos Divine Flame if they're in the same form as the Chaos Divine Flame. However, only a 7th form Chaos Divine Flame would be able to detect the 4 of us. It's the same for us. A 7th form world-cleansing divine water might be able to detect us, but it won't be able to detect them. Only a 7th form world-cleansing divine water would be able to detect us. The world-cleansing divine water explained in one breath. Duan Lingtian nodded in realization. Those two young men won't be a match for him. The 5th form Chaos Divine Flame will be able to enhance his strength by quite a bit. The middle-aged man's voice seemed to echo the voice of the Chaos Divine Flame in Duan Lingtian's little world. Initially he was at a disadvantage. However, when his opponents let their guard down, he secretly used the Chaos Divine Flame's power and unleashed it at a critical moment. Boom. Rumble. In just a blink of an eye, the two young men were killed by the middle-aged man. Their spatial rings were collected by the middle-aged man. As for the military merit points, they were, naturally, transferred to the middle-aged man. "Let's go." Duan Lingtian called out to Little Gold and led Huan out of the encirclement. He did not want to miss out on this opportunity to gain merit points and help the Chaos Divine Flame in his little world devour the 5th form Chaos Divine Flame. As for the middle-aged man, he had also discovered them immediately. Another 3 people who want to die? After discovering Duan Lingtian and the other 2, the middle-aged man's eyes flashed like lightning. Without wasting any time, he immediately charged toward Duan Lingtian and the other 2 before he withdrew his flame energy. The middle-aged man was a 10 Directions celestial lord who had comprehended all profundities from the law of fire to the mastery stage. Coupled with the 5th form Chaos Divine Flame, his strength was even stronger than the 4 young men who knew how to cast a joint attack formation that Duan Lingtian had killed earlier. However, Duan Lingtian did not seem to care about the Chaos Divine Flame in the middle-aged man's body at all. "Thanks." When the middle-aged man charged forward, Duan Lingtian grinned at him, revealing a pair of snow-white teeth. At the same time, it caused the middle-aged man to be baffled. "Thanks? What's there to thank me for?" Brat, do you think you can take my military merit points just because there are 3 of you? The middle-aged man said disdainfully. At this moment, Duan Lingtian had already arrived in front of the middle-aged man. He brandished the 7 orifices exquisite sword in his hand. "No, you've misunderstood. I'm not only thanking you for giving me military merit points, at the same time I want to thank you for giving me the Chaos Divine Flame." Duan Lingtian grinned. "You noticed?" The middle-aged man's eyes turned cold. He thought Duan Lingtian had discovered the Chaos Divine Flame in his body. He only realized what was going on when the Chaos Divine Flame in his body cried out. "Run, run." He has a 6th-form Chaos Divine Flame in his body. The Chaos Divine Flame in the middle-aged man's body cried out. "I can't help you in your battle with him." The middle-aged man was taken aback when the Chaos Divine Flame said anxiously, "It's too late. Quick, kill him now. Kill him before his Chaos Divine Flame devours me. He might not be as strong as you." It was obvious that the Chaos Divine Flame wanted the Chaos Divine Flame in Duan Lingtian's body to lose its host. That way the middle-aged man would be able to escape. Without a host, the 5 divine elements would not be able to devour the weaker 5 divine elements as long as the latter had a host. This was because the host of the 5 divine elements could do their best to help the 5 divine elements in their body repel the 5 divine elements. A 6th-form Chaos Divine Flame? The middle-aged man's expression changed drastically. At the same time he realized the danger he was in. He quickly attacked with all his might. Flaming sabers shot out and formed a net that shrouded Duan Lingtian. If the Chaos Divine Flame in his body devoured the Chaos Divine Flame in his body, he would definitely die. Moreover, if the Chaos Divine Flame in his body successfully devoured the Chaos Divine Flame in his body, he would not be able to escape death even if he killed the middle-aged man. The Chaos Divine Flame might not choose to reside in his body. If it chose to reside in the bodies of the other 2, he would still die. Chapter 3356. Swoosh. Although the middle-aged man had unleashed his full strength from the beginning, his flaming sabers formed a net that shrouded Duan Lingtian. He had comprehended all the profundities from the law of fire to the mastery stage. However, when the sound of a sword whistling in the air rang in the air, the 7-colored sword ray easily cut through the middle-aged man's attack like it was made of paper. Then the 7-colored sword ray suppressed and annihilated the middle-aged man. The 7-colored sword ray was like a beast that devoured everything in its path. It easily devoured the middle-aged man's flame energy. Heavens! Not only does he have the 6th-form Chaos Divine Flame, but he also has the 6th-form Profound Divine Metal, the 6th-form Clear Sky Divine Wood, the 6th-form World Cleansing Divine Water, and the 6th-form Chaos Divine Earth. What kind of monster is he? My life is over. When the middle-aged man realized that his attack had been easily crushed, the voice of the 5th-form Primal Chaos Divine Flame rang out from within his body. Its voice was filled with shock and disbelief. When the middle-aged man heard its voice, his heart clenched. The person in front of him had 5 divine elements in his body? Furthermore, all 5 of the 5 divine elements were in their 6th form? No. The middle-aged man regained his senses when the 7-colored sword ray mercilessly slashed at him. He tried his best to block the attack. At the same time, he hurriedly called for help from the 5th-form Chaos Divine Flame in his body. "Help me. Help me." Alas, he did not receive any response from the 5th-form Chaos Divine Flame in his body. Could not even take care of itself. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's 7-colored sword ray did not contain the Chaos Divine Flame's energy. The Chaos Divine Flame had already left his body and entered the middle-aged man's body to look for the 5th-form Chaos Divine Flame. Since the middle-aged man had a 5th-form Chaos Divine Flame, it did not even need the help of the other divine elements. Boom. The middle-aged man's body was quickly destroyed by the 7-colored sword ray. At the same time, the Chaos Divine Flame left the middle-aged man's body and returned to Duan Lingtian's little world. It was obvious the Chaos Divine Flame in the middle-aged man's body had been completely devoured by the Chaos Divine Flame. Wow. After Duan Lingtian killed the middle-aged man, Xiao Jin's surprised voice could be heard. "Brother Lingtian, you're now in the top 700. You're now a lieutenant. It seems like the guy you killed was also a military officer." In the Purgatory battlefield, as long as one's military exploits reached the top 1,100, one would be able to obtain a corresponding military rank. Among them, the military ranks of the top 100 were commanders, while the military ranks of the bottom 1,000 were lieutenants. Now, after Duan Lingtian killed the middle-aged man and obtained his military merits, he charged into the top 700 in one fell swoop. Xia Feiwu, the name Duan Lingtian was currently using, had already appeared in front of everyone in the purgatory battlefield like a dark horse. Of course, dark horses were commonly used in the purgatory battlefield, so Duan Lingtian's sudden appearance did not attract too much attention. Moreover, it was only the top 700 after all. If one day Duan Lingtian could charge into the top 100 at that time, there would naturally be more people paying attention to him. After all, there were only 100 commanders in the purgatory battlefield. As for lieutenants, there were more than 1,000 of them. Compared to commanders, they were naturally not that rare. However, with his strength, if he continues to grow, it's impossible for him to just be a lieutenant of this rank. He can only blame himself for being too unlucky to have met Brother Ling Tian so early. Xiao Jin had personally witnessed the middle-aged man's strength just now. She knew that with his strength, if he continued to grow, not to mention a top lieutenant, he might even become a commander. It was a pity that he met her brother Ling Tian, and that was the end of it. Brother Ling Tian, you now have more than 800 military merits. You can already exchange them for the opportunity to enter the secret realm. Xiao Jin smiled at Duan Ling Tian and said, moreover, even if you use up your military merits now, it won't affect the upper limit of your military merits, and it won't affect your ranking on the military merits ranking. Hearing Xiao Jin's reminder, Duan Lingtian's mind instantly flashed with a few options. Most of them were to enter the secret realm with others. Of course, this type of secret realm did not require much military merits. In fact, it could even be said that it was very little. The more people entered the secret realm, the less military merits were required to exchange for it. Correspondingly, the less people entered the secret realm, the more military merits were required to exchange for it. A person entering the secret realm alone requires 500 military merits each time? Duan Lingtian could not help but click his tongue. The options that appeared in Duan Lingtian's mind now were similar to when he was playing games on Earth in his previous life. There were many options for him to choose from. This made him more aware of the reason why the purgatory battlefield was called the game of the strongest. However, although it's a person entering the secret realm alone, as long as the person is willing to exchange for it, they can also bring others in. Soon after, Duan Lingtian noticed this. If it was under normal circumstances, he would be interested in entering the secret realm alone. However, with little gold and Huaner by his side, it was impossible for him to enter the secret realm alone. For this reason, he heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that he could bring his companions into the secret realm after spending 500 military merit points. Huaner Xiaojin. I'm going to use my military merits to exchange for a secret realm. Let's enter together. Duan Lingtian informed Huaner and Xiaojin in advance. Then he began to exchange for the secret realm. Exchange for a personal secret realm. With that thought in mind, Duan Lingtian discovered his military merits had been reduced by 500 points. However, there was still a limit. The remaining military merits were still displayed. As 500 merit points were deducted, a prompt appeared in his mind, guiding him to a certain place. Over there. With that, Duan Lingtian brought Huaner and Xiaojin along the way. In just a blink of an eye, they had left the purgatory of myriad changes and returned to another region of the purgatory battlefield. After traveling for a day and a night, Duan Lingtian finally came to a halt. It's here. At the same time, Duan Lingtian's group of 3 appeared in a vast and boundless desert. The desert stretched as far as the eye could see, and there were ruins beneath their feet. The ruins of the ruins seemed to be extremely ancient, and it was as if they were telling everything in the surroundings that they had existed for a long time. Brother Lingtian, is it under these ruins? Xiaojin asked. Nope. Duan Lingtian shook his head. It's under the desert beside these ruins. However, we'll have to enter through these ruins. Duan Lingtian, Little Gold, and Duan Lingtian descended from the sky and entered the ruins. Then they followed the path in the ruins. Along the way, it was not difficult to see that the path in the ruins had been forcibly opened up by someone. However, after opening it up to a certain point, the person might not have discovered anything. Therefore, Duan Lingtian and the others stopped at this spot. There's no path ahead. Little Jean said. Brother Lingtian, I think there's an illusory formation behind this path. Huaner spoke up. MHM, Duan Lingtian nodded. After exchanging my points, I'll be guided to the path ahead, including the way to break the formation. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, the 7 orifices exquisite sword appeared in his hand in a flash. Then he immediately cut a path in the dead end in front of him. Moreover, he did not waste any energy at all. While Duan Lingtian and Xiaojin were clearing the path, they entered an area shrouded by an illusory formation. Even Huan was powerless against the illusory formation here. Brother Ling Tian, the illusory formation here is very advanced. I can't break it with my current strength. I have a feeling that even if I become a celestial emperor and unlock my inherited memories, I won't be able to break it. Duan Ling Tian nodded. That's normal. Duan Ling Tian said with a smile, the purgatory battlefield is a place created by a supreme expert. The illusory formation here is the barrier to the secret realm that we're heading to. It's only natural that it won't allow anyone to break through. Following that, Duan Ling Tian used the method to break the formation that appeared in his mind to break the illusory formation. Then he led Huan and little Jean through the illusory formation and into a spacious area. That's the palace. At the same time, a palace appeared in front of Duan Ling Tian and the other two. The palace was located in the distance, and on the path leading to the entrance of the palace, there were statues standing on both sides of them. There were statues of children, young girls, young men, young women, old men and old women. Apart from humans, there were also many celestial beasts. These celestial beasts were of various shapes and sizes. There were dragons, tigers and leopards. We're here. Duan Ling Tian said to little Jean and Huan Hu, the palace in front of us is the secret realm. Or rather, the land we're standing on can be considered a secret realm. At this moment, the guidance in Duan Ling Tian's mind had completely disappeared. Apart from that, he felt as though he was being struck by lightning. The statues in front of them were most likely a test for them to enter the palace. Perhaps they were a test for the secret realm. Follow me closely. Duan Ling Tian's eyes flashed as the 7 orifices exquisite sword spun around him. After that, he called out to the world-cleansing divine water in his little world. Sister Water, do you see anything special about these statues? As soon as Duan Ling Tian finished speaking, the world-cleansing divine water's voice rang in his ears. It's the myriad phenomenon formation. The myriad phenomenon formation? Duan Ling Tian was stunned. The world-cleansing divine water explained, the myriad phenomenon formation includes both offensive and defensive formations. There are also transformations and illusions. If we want to pass through the myriad phenomenon formation, we'll encounter many problems. Only by resolving these problems will we be able to pass through the myriad phenomenon formation. Moreover, it's impossible to break the myriad phenomenon formation. The world-cleansing divine water replied in a timely manner. Chapter 3357. If that's the case, how am I supposed to pass through the barrier? Duan Ling Tian asked the key question. You don't have to worry about this since you're borrowing our strength. Just deal with whatever comes your way. The world-cleansing divine water said, you should know that with our help, it's as though you have the help of a 7th form divine element. In fact, if we join forces, we're even stronger than a 7th form divine element. A formation of this level won't be able to stop you. Moreover, this is only the first barrier. With your strength, if you can't even pass through the first barrier, how are you going to deal with the rest of the trials? Upon hearing the world-cleansing divine water's words, Duan Ling Tian realized he had been overly cautious. Of course, the reason Duan Ling Tian was so careful was entirely because of his habitual thinking all along the way. He subconsciously felt that this purgatory battlefield was left behind by a supreme powerhouse, and the word supreme powerhouse had an extremely great deterrent force. Following that, Duan Ling Tian beckoned to Huaner and Little Gold before he led them into the 10,000 elephants formation and made his way to the palace in front of them. Along the way, the lifelike statues were activated one after another to block Duan Ling Tian's path. However, the strongest of these statues was only comparable to a 10-direction celestial lord who had comprehended all the profundities of a law to the mastery stage. Therefore, these statues posed no threat to Duan Ling Tian at all. For this reason, Duan Ling Tian was able to bring Huan and Little Black through the barrier. Following that, the 3 of them successfully entered the palace. As soon as they entered the palace, Duan Ling Tian's mind seemed to have cleared up. A law he had comprehended in the past suddenly appeared in his mind. This is the law of time? After entering the palace, Duan Ling Tian discovered that everything in the palace seemed to be restricted by time. Whether it was his Little Gold's or Huaner's, movements were slowed down. Brother Ling Tian, is this the law of time? Huaner asked curiously. Yes. Duan Ling Tian nodded solemnly. Although he had come into contact with the laws of time in the past, he was still lacking an opportunity to comprehend its fundamental profundity, the time elemental profundity. Since he had been focusing on comprehending the laws of space, he had never had the chance to encounter that opportunity. The moment he entered the palace, he realized that his comprehension of the time law seemed to have coincided with an opportunity. Time element. With this thought in mind, Duan Tian raised his hand, and his celestial origin energy extended out and merged with the energy he had just comprehended. This is the time element? At this moment, Duan Tian could clearly feel. He had stepped through the threshold of the laws of time. However, the true might of the law of time doesn't lie in the fundamental profundity, the time elemental profundity. Instead, it lies in the combination of the time elemental profundity and other profundities to control the flow of time. In fact, when one's comprehension of the law of time reaches a certain level, one can even stop time in an area. Duan Tian had long known how terrifying the law of time was. He even knew that although the law of time, the laws of space, the laws of life, and the laws of death were the four supreme laws, the law of time was the hardest to comprehend. For example, Duan Tian had yet to encounter an opponent who had comprehended the law of time. Although the law of time was difficult to comprehend, it was also very powerful. Among the four supreme laws, the law of time was definitely an existence that was second to none. If one comprehended the same level of law, the law of time was more than enough to suppress the other three supreme laws. However, although the law of time is powerful, I'll have to start from scratch if I want to comprehend it. My attainments in the law of space don't allow me to waste too much time on the law of time. Once I become a celestial emperor, I'll be able to comprehend the fusion profundity of the law of space through the godheads of supreme powerhouses. Duan Tian knew this very well. For this reason, even though he had accidentally comprehended the law of time, Duan Tian was still as calm as ever. It was as though nothing had happened. Little Gold, what's in a secret realm like this? Duan Tian asked curiously. Celestial fruits and celestial pills that can help celestial lords improve their cultivation bases? His main purpose for coming to the purgatory battlefield this time was to obtain celestial fruits and celestial pills that could improve his cultivation base. After all, he wanted to break through to the celestial emperor realm as soon as possible so that he could further comprehend the law of space. Otherwise, he would not be able to comprehend the fusion profundity of the law of space with the help of the supreme powerhouse godhead because his cultivation base was not high enough. Although the purgatory battlefield was filled with danger, the secret realms left behind by the supreme powerhouses also contained treasures that celestial lords could only dream of. Otherwise, how could a group of celestial lords be attracted to the purgatory battlefield? After all, there was no lack of celestial lords who possessed the 5 divine elements in the purgatory battlefield. If it was not for the treasures that attracted them, why would they take the risk to enter the purgatory battlefield? Brother Ling Tian, Little Gold said with a smile. Whether it's a secret realm or a secret realm, the celestial fruits and celestial pills that can help celestial lords improve their cultivation bases are the most ordinary treasures. In the secret realms of the purgatory battlefield, the more precious treasures are the divine weapons and treasures that contain the comprehension of the laws of space. Of course, there are also some other treasures. These treasures are very useful to non-human beings, but they're useless to humans. However, humans can also use those things to trade with non-human life forms for other things they need. After listening to Little Gold's explanation, Duan Tian realized the celestial fruits and celestial pills that he wanted were not rare in the secret realms of the purgatory battlefield. After passing through the main hall of the palace, Duan Tian and the other two entered a passageway. Once again they were faced with a sudden test. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Streaks of ghostly black shadows shot out from the shadows of the 3 people and attacked them directly. Their speed was as fast as lightning. However, even though these black figures were fast, Duan Tian was even faster. Before Huan and Little Gold could react, the 7 orifices exquisite sword that was revolving around Duan Tian had already swept past the shadows and easily destroyed them. As they walked through the passageway, they were attacked by a total of 9 waves of black shadows. Moreover, the black shadows that appeared later were stronger. However, under Duan Tian's 7 orifices exquisite sword, the strongest of these black shadows didn't even last a moment. With the 5 divine elements boost to the 7 orifices exquisite sword, Duan Tian's attacks were stronger than most titled celestial emperors. I didn't see any rewards in the first test. Don't tell me there's no reward here as well? Little Gold muttered to herself. If I'm not mistaken, the reward for the first test is comprehending the law of time in the main hall of the palace. Duan Tian shook his head. He had comprehended the law of time's fundamental profundity, the time elemental profundity, in the main hall of the palace. How can the law of time be considered a reward? Little Gold frowned. Isn't that a little too stingy? Only a genius would be able to comprehend the law of time from the main hall of the palace. Indeed, Little Gold was right. If Duan Ling Tian had not come into contact with the law of time in the past, he would not have been able to comprehend the law of time's fundamental profundity, the time elemental profundity. The most important thing is accumulation. Duan Ling Tian said with a smile, after all, you've accumulated a certain amount of comprehension of the law of time. If you encounter such an environment again, you might be able to use it to comprehend the law of time. Since Duan Ling Tian had comprehended the law of time in such a manner, he spoke as though he was an experienced person. Swoosh. As soon as Duan Ling Tian finished speaking, a gust of wind blew in the distance, causing Duan Ling Tian to look up. In the next moment, a pill bottle appeared in Duan Ling Tian's hand. This is... Duan Ling Tian instinctively picked up the pill bottle and glanced at the surface of the bottle. To his surprise, the words "majestic pill" were carved on it. Majestic pill? Huangji pill? Upon hearing Duan Ling Tian's words, Little Gold moved closer. Her eyes lit up when she saw the words on the pill bottle. Brother Ling Tian, this Huangji pill can help a celestial lord improve his cultivation base. It's made by a celestial alchemist who's at the royal grade or above. However, a celestial alchemist can only consume 3 Huangji pills at most. After 3 Huangji pills, a 4th Huangji pill will no longer have any effect. Since you don't know what a Huangji pill is, I'm sure you haven't consumed it before. Little Gold said. In the past, Little Gold had consumed the Huangji pill when she was in the Blood Moon Ridge in the 10,000 Beasts Heaven. Therefore she was very familiar with its effects. Moreover, since she had consumed it in the past, it was no longer effective for her. Improve my cultivation base? Duan Ling Tian's eyes lit up. Indeed, he had not consumed the Huangji pill before. In fact, this was the first time he had heard of such a pill. In the past, he had mostly relied on celestial fruits to improve his cultivation base and rarely consumed celestial pills. After all, there were very few celestial pills that could improve one's cultivation base after reaching the celestial lord realm. Even if there were, only celestial alchemists at the royal grade and above would be able to refine such pills. Most heaven-grade forces might not even have such celestial alchemists. Only heaven-grade forces with a long history and a deep foundation would have such celestial alchemists. Naturally, if a heavenly emperor's force wanted such a pill, as long as a heavenly emperor asked, they could ask for it from a heaven-grade force. There's a total of 10 Huangji pills. Duan Ling Tian opened the pill bottle and discovered there were 10 majestic pills inside. He gave 3 to Huaner before he looked at Little Gold and asked, Little Gold, how long will it take to absorb the medicinal efficacy of these majestic pills? Chapter 3358. Brother Ling Tian, it won't take long for the Huangji pills to be completely absorbed. It'll only take a few days for 3 pills to be absorbed. For those below the 8 trigram Celestial Lord stage, even those who have just entered the 8 trigram Celestial Lord stage will be able to raise their cultivation base by at least 1 level after consuming 3 pills. In response to Duan Ling Tian's question, Little Gold replied in a timely manner, the Royal Supreme Pill is one of the best celestial pills for celestial lords. Naturally, there are very few celestial pills that can raise a celestial lord's cultivation base. Duan Ling Tian nodded. All right. Upon hearing Little Gold's words, Duan Ling Tian felt much more confident. In that case, Huaner and I will consume the Huangji pills and cultivate for a few days before we continue exploring the secret realm. Little Gold, you'll stand guard for us. Initially, Duan Ling Tian had thought that if it took too long to digest the majestic pill's medicinal efficacy, he would wait until he passed through the secret realm before consuming the majestic pill to cultivate and raise his cultivation base. However, since Little Gold said it would only take a few days, he decided to consume the Huangji pills to raise his cultivation base before he continued exploring the secret realm. All right. Upon hearing Little Gold's words, Duan Ling Tian and Huan sat cross-legged on the ground to cultivate. After consuming the Huangji pills, they began to absorb the Huangji pills. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian could perfectly control the heaven and earth spirit energy in his little world. He could direct a portion of the heaven and earth spirit energy into Huaner's body to help her cultivate. At the same time, he could also utilize the heaven and earth spirit energy in his little world to cultivate. After all, the heaven and earth spirit energy in the little world was similar to the heaven and earth spirit energy in other realms of gods. In just 3 days, Duan Ling Tian and Huan Er's cultivation bases had improved significantly. Let's continue. After Duan Ling Tian absorbed the medicinal efficacy of the majestic pill and raised his cultivation base, his aura had more or less undergone some subtle changes. As for Huan Er, her aura seemed more ethereal than before. She looked like a goddess. For the rest of the journey, Duan Ling Tian and the other two smoothly passed through all the tests in the secret realm. During this period he obtained several spirit fruits that could help celestial emperors improve their cultivation base. Among them, there were 2 spirit fruits that could automatically improve one's cultivation base after consumption. There was no need to cultivate to digest the medicinal efficacy. For Duan Ling Tian, these spirit fruits were tailor-made for him. Why haven't you left yet? After passing through all the palaces in the palace and leaving the palace from another direction, Xiao Jin couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. Under normal circumstances, they should have left the mystic realm by now. There was a voice, asking me if I wanted to challenge the 1,000 military merits limit. Just as Xiao Jin was puzzling over this, an ethereal voice sounded in Duan Lingtian's mind. The voice was neutral and gentle, and it was impossible to tell whether it was a man or a woman. It asked him if he wanted to challenge the test of breaking the previous upper limit. Almost at the same time as he finished speaking, a voice rang out. Both Little Gold and Huan had the same thought. Challenge me? I'll have to challenge him sooner or later. Xiao Jin nodded. Following that, Duan Lingtian, Huaner and Huan stepped into 3 doors that appeared out of thin air. At this moment, Little Gold's voice rang in the air again. Brother Lingtian, Huan will return to this place after we pass the test. At that time, don't wander around. Just stay where you are and wait for us. By the time Xiao Jin finished speaking, she had already disappeared behind the void door. After that, Duan Lingtian and Huan were led into the spatial door. Breaking the 1,000 military merits limit? If a human 10 directions celestial lord hasn't comprehended one of the 4 supreme laws, even if he has comprehended all the profundities to the mastery realm, it'll still be difficult for him to break the 1,000 military merits limit. On the other hand, if he's not a human 10 directions celestial lord, as long as he has other extraordinary techniques, he'll still be able to break the 1,000 military merits limit even if he hasn't comprehended one of the supreme laws. Those who are capable of breaking the 1,000 military merits limit are, at the very least, a top lieutenant or a first-class commander in the purgatory battlefield. After entering the spatial door, Duan Lingtian appeared in the air above a sea of flames. Thoughts raced through his mind for a long time. It was only when the sea of flames beneath his feet began to boil that Duan Lingtian regained his senses. What entered his eyes was a sea of fiery red. Currently, Duan Lingtian felt as though he was in a boundless sea of fire. Apart from the scorching heat in the air, he could also clearly feel waves of extraordinary auras in the depths of the sea of fire. Moreover, these auras were slightly restless at this moment. Let's end this as soon as possible. For Duan Lingtian, breaking the 1,000 military merits limit was not difficult at all. When the creatures in the depths of the sea of fire were about to make a move, he had already made the first move. The 7 orifices exquisite sword roared and shot out a 7-colored sword radiance that shot straight into the sky. It was mixed with the power of the 5 divine elements. The brutal power of space was like a shadow that could tear space apart. Swoosh! The 7-colored sword chi shot up into the sky before it fell from the sky like the light of doomsday, splitting the sea of flames into 2. The moment the sword chi entered the sea of flames, a violent energy erupted. Boom! Rumble! A series of muffled explosions rang out from the depths of the sea of flames. Following that, Duan Lingtian saw the corpses of many creatures rising to the surface of the sea. At the same time, many strange immortal beasts that were covered in flames pounced on him one after another like a suicide squad. Whoosh! 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 The 7-colored sword chi around Duan Lingtian turned into a rain of swords that easily stopped the immortal beasts that pounced on him. At the same time, Duan Lingtian made his move again and killed the immortal beasts that rose to the surface of the sea. In less than 15 minutes, Duan Lingtian discovered that his surroundings had changed. Then he returned to the empty space behind the palace. Are Huaner and Little Gold still not out yet? Duan Lingtian stared at the empty space for about half an hour before Huaner finally came out. After another quarter of an hour, Xiao Jin also came out. Huaner, you're out so soon? Little Gold was not surprised that Brother Lingtian had come out earlier than her. However, she was surprised that Huaner had come out earlier than her. Although she knew Huaner was a divine beast, she did not think Huaner was stronger than her. Now that Huaner had come out earlier than her, it was clear that Huaner was stronger than her. Brother Lingtian, how long did Huaner come out earlier than me? Little Gold asked Duan Lingtian through voice transmission. Not long. Although Duan Lingtian had not seen Little Gold for a long time, how could he not see Little Gold's desire to compete with him? Therefore he only gave a perfunctory answer to Little Gold's question. Brother Lingtian, can you be more specific? Little Gold asked anxiously. How long is not long? 15 minutes. Duan Lingtian had no choice but to tell Little Gold the truth. He had only said not long, to comfort Little Gold. However, it seemed like Little Gold did not appreciate his words. 15 minutes is not long? Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, a sense of defeat rose in Little Gold's heart. However, she quickly regained her composure. It seems like I can't slack off anymore. Huan is much younger than me, but she's stronger than me. Although she's a divine beast, her environment is far inferior to Blood Moon Ridge's environment. Little Gold knew very well that Huan was much younger than her. If Huan had stayed in Blood Moon Ridge for 200 years, with her divine beast foundation, she would not be any weaker than an ordinary titled Celestial Emperor. For this reason, Little Gold did not think Huan was stronger than her just because Huan was a divine beast. If she had worked harder while she was in Blood Moon Ridge, she might not have been weaker than Huan. Naturally, Little Gold was the only one who knew about her thoughts. If Duan Lingtian knew what she was thinking right now, perhaps he would be slightly gratified because this was a good thing. After leaving the secret realm, Duan Lingtian, Huan and Huan returned to the purgatory of 10,000 changes to search for more merit points. It had to be said that the three of them were quite lucky. In the following period of time, they didn't encounter any opponents that were too strong. The three of them reached the upper limit of 2,000 points one after another. Of course, the three of them actually had more than 2,000 points. Huan's merit points had just surpassed 2,000 merit points. On the other hand, Little Gold's merit points were close to 3,000 merit points. However, due to the limit, her merit points were only 2,000 merit points. Moreover, she was ranked behind Huan since Huan had reached 2,000 merit points before her. The reason Little Gold's merit points were higher than Huan's was due to the person she had killed who had more than 1,000 merit points. As for Duan Lingtian, he had 6,000 merit points. It's about time. Let's exchange for a secret realm and try to break the 2,000 merit points limit after we enter the secret realm. Little Gold said. Up until now, Duan Lingtian, Huan and Huan had only entered one secret realm. It was the secret realm that Duan Lingtian had exchanged 500 merit points for. Following this, the three of them took turns exchanging for secret realms. Naturally, the three of them would enter each secret realm at the same time. After entering the first secret realm, Duan Lingtian, Huan and Huan successfully broke the 2,000 merit points limit. However, Little Gold had a hard time breaking the 2,000 merit points limit. Brother Lingtian, I'm afraid my limit will stop at 3,000 merit points. With my foundation, I won't be able to break the 3,000 merit points limit. Little Gold had told Duan Lingtian about this when they first entered the Purgatory battlefield. For this reason, Duan Lingtian was prepared for this. Huan on the other hand, did not have to worry about it. After all, she was a divine beast. Let's consume the celestial fruits and celestial pills we've obtained to improve our cultivation basis. Little Gold, you should strive to become a 10 Directions Celestial Lord. At that time, you might be able to break the 3,000 merit points limit. Duan Lingtian said to Huan and Little Gold. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the three of them entered a state of frenzied cultivation. During this time, Little Gold was shocked by the heaven and earth spirit energy in Duan Lingtian's little world. Brother Lingtian, after cultivating with you, I don't want to return to Blood Moon Ridge anymore. Chapter 3359. Time flew by. In just a blink of an eye, several decades had passed. Several decades were not long for ordinary celestials in the Devata realms. However, for someone who had just ascended to a Devata realm 200 years ago, it was still a long time. In just a blink of an eye, 300 years have passed. In a dim world in a stone forest, a figure slowly flew out from one of the huge stone pillars. He looked up at the gray sky and muttered to himself. The figure belonged to a handsome young man dressed in purple. His eyebrows were dashing and his eyes were bright like stars. At this moment, a hint of nostalgia could be seen in his eyes. A hint of coldness could be seen in the depths of his eyes as he looked up at the sky. It was as though he was thinking of an enemy. Brother Lingtian. The peerlessly beautiful woman had unknowingly walked out and came to the young man's side. Naturally, she held his arm and asked softly, "Do you miss Sister Kerr, Sister Fei and Sister Tianwu?" Huan Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. "Why are you here?" "Brother Lingtian, I saw you stopped cultivating, so I decided to come out." "Brother Lingtian, have you become a 10 Directions Celestial Lord?" Huan asked. In recent years, Little Gold and Huan had become 10 Directions Celestial Lords one after another. However, Duanling Tian was the last to become a 10 Directions Celestial Lord since his starting point was lower than theirs. Yes. Duanling Tian nodded with a smile. I just had a breakthrough. In recent years, after consuming the first batch of celestial fruits and celestial pills, Duanling Tian continued to look for people to obtain more celestial fruits and celestial pills. This was the only reason he had entered the purgatory battlefield. Later on, Duanling Tian encountered a few people who possessed the 5 divine elements in the purgatory of myriad changes. However, the strongest of the 5 divine elements was only at the 6th form. Duanling Tian had never seen anyone with a 7th form 5 divine elements, let alone an 8th form 5 divine elements. Furthermore, the divine elements of those who possessed the 6th form of the divine elements were devoured by the divine elements in Duanling Tian's body. The 5 divine elements in Duanling Tian's body were originally in the 6th form. After devouring other 5 divine elements in the 6th form, they could directly evolve into the 7th form. Apart from the Chaos Divine Earth, all of Duanling Tian's divine elements had reached the 7th form, especially the primal Chaos Divine Flame. Due to the fact that he had not only devoured a 6th form Chaos Divine Flame, but he had also devoured some 5th form and lower form Chaos Divine Flames. Therefore he was not far from reaching the 8th form. Big Brother Ling Tian Huan. At this moment, Little Gold had also emerged from the stone forest and flew to Duanling Tian and Duanling Tian's side. Her eyes lit up when she learned that Duanling Tian had become a 10 Directions Celestial Lord. Big Brother Ling Tian, should we leave the purgatory battlefield after we become immortal emperors or should we leave now? Xiaojin asked. She was very clear in her heart. Whether it was her, Brother Ling Tian or Huan, none of them had any intention of competing for higher ranks. Their goal was to use the various resources in the purgatory battlefield to become celestial emperors as soon as possible. Currently, both of them were 10 Directions Celestial Lords. Moreover, both of them were close to breaking through to the Celestial Emperor realm. In the purgatory battlefield, once one broke through and became an immortal emperor, not only would they be sent out, but their ranking would also be removed. Let's stay here for a while longer. Duanling Tian's eyes flashed as he said, currently I've only become a 10 Directions Celestial Lord. Although I still have many celestial fruits in my possession, I'm sure my cultivation efficiency will not be lower than here. However, who's to say I won't be able to obtain better celestial fruits? Duanling Tian's words were, naturally, directed at Little Gold. In fact, the reason he did not plan to leave the purgatory battlefield for the time being was because of the 5 divine elements in his body. Other than the Chaos Divine Earth that was still in its 6th form, all of the 5 divine elements in his body had advanced to the 7th form. Their strength had risen to a whole new level, and they were no longer the same as before. Even so, they still had a lot of room for improvement. The purgatory battlefield was, without a doubt, a perfect place for them to improve. Now, even if we encounter an 8th form 5 divine element, we won't have to fear it if we join forces. Duanling Tian could still hear the world-cleansing divine water's words. For this reason he wanted to stay in the purgatory battlefield for as long as he could to help the 5 divine elements improve their forms. Currently, Duanling Tian's military rank in the purgatory battlefield was a 6th grade commander. As long as he passed a test that broke the upper limit of his military merit, he would be able to improve his military rank. Up until now, there were only 2 7th grade commanders in the purgatory battlefield. Moreover, Duanling Tian had yet to encounter one of them. At most, he had encountered 2 6th grade commanders, but both of them were killed by Duanling Tian and their 5 divine elements. One of them was a top-tier celestial beast like Little Gold who possessed a 6th form profound divine metal and a divine artifact. If he did not encounter Duanling Tian, there were very few people in the purgatory battlefield who could defeat him. The other person was a divine beast like Huan. She also possessed a divine artifact and a 5th form world-cleansing divine water. She was extremely powerful, but she was still killed by Duanling Tian. After killing a top-tier celestial beast and a divine beast, not only did Duanling Tian obtain a lot of military merit, but he also obtained their divine artifacts and 5 divine elements. Moreover, some of the items in their bodies would be of great help to Huan and Little Gold. Alright. Naturally, Little Gold had no objections to Duanling Tian's decision. As for Huan, she naturally did not have any objections. Let's go to the purgatory of myriad changes. Duanling Tian knew he would not be able to stay in the purgatory battlefield for long. For this reason he did not plan to enter any secret zones. After all, the celestial fruits in his possession were more than enough for him to become a celestial emperor in a short time. The effect of cultivating in the purgatory battlefield was the same as cultivating outside. He did not rely on the heaven and earth spirit energy in the purgatory battlefield or Devata realms. Instead, he relied on the heaven and earth spirit energy from the ruins of realms of gods in his little world. No matter where he was, he would have the best heaven and earth spirit energy to aid his cultivation. Sister Water, is there really no way for Huan and Little Gold to possess the 5 divine elements? Even if it's just one, it's fine. Duan Lingtian asked the world-cleansing divine water as they made their way to the purgatory of myriad changes. This was one of the questions Duan Lingtian had asked the world-cleansing divine water at least 5 times over the past few decades. I've told you many times in the past that unless they want to take a risk, I don't recommend them to allow the 5 divine elements to reside in their bodies, the world-cleansing divine water replied. Duan Lingtian nodded. The host of the 5 divine elements was determined by themselves. Nobody could determine the host for the 5 divine elements. Even the profound divine metal which had resided in Duan Lingtian's body, had to negotiate with the chaos divine flame to allow it to reside in Duan Lingtian's body and acknowledge Duan Lingtian as its host. If the chaos divine flame was unwilling to do so, nobody could force it to do so. In the purgatory battlefield, some of the 5 divine elements hosts would choose another host when they were at their wits' end. However, when the host left the purgatory battlefield and found a more suitable host, the 5 divine elements would abandon their current host and accept a new one. If that happened, not only would the 5 divine elements leave the host, but it would also affect the host. In fact, the new owner of the divine elements would most likely choose to kill the previous owner in order to keep the secret of obtaining the divine elements a secret. Even if the new host did not have the intention to kill the 5 divine elements, the 5 divine elements would still encourage the new host to do so. If it's Huan, the 5 divine elements might not choose to leave her. After all, they might not be able to find a better host. However, I can't guarantee that Little Gold will be the same. Although top celestial beasts are rare, they're not rare in the Devata realms. The world-cleansing divine water said. Duan Lingtian fell silent when he heard the world-cleansing divine water's words. This was not his first time hearing such words since he had asked the world-cleansing divine water many times. However, in the end he still could not make up his mind. In fact, he did not want Huan to take the risk. I think it's better to be conservative. Even if Huan obtains one of the 5 divine elements, her strength won't increase by much. Moreover, with me protecting her, it doesn't matter if she's slightly weaker. As for Little Gold, when she evolves into a divine beast, it will be up to her. The purgatory battlefield isn't the only place that has the 5 divine elements. There are many celestial emperors in the 9 serenities battlefield who possess the 5 divine elements as well. When she wants one in the future, I'll enter the 9 serenities battlefield with her and help her obtain one of the 5 divine elements. With this thought in mind, Duan Lingtian made up his mind. After returning to the purgatory of myriad changes in the purgatory battlefield, Duan Lingtian felt as though he was being bullied by his opponents. In the end, he did not even bother to deal with those who were weaker. Instead, he let Little Gold and Huan deal with them. The 6th form Chaos Divine Earth. The Chaos Divine Earth's childish voice rang in Duan Lingtian's body. Its voice was filled with excitement as it said, "It's finally here. It's finally here." At this moment, 2 figures appeared in front of Duan Lingtian. A tall and sturdy man with a bare upper body and a short and skinny old woman were sitting on the shoulders of the 3-meter-tall man. Chapter 3360. While Duan Lingtian was staring at the 2 people in front of him, the 2 people in front of him were also looking at Duan Lingtian. The burly man's gaze was fixed on Duan Lingtian. On the other hand, the short and skinny old woman stared at Duan Lingtian as though she was looking at a priceless treasure. Her eyes shone brightly and she looked so excited that she was close to drooling. This was due to the 6th form Chaos Divine Earth in her body. Moreover, the Chaos Divine Earth in her body had already discovered the Chaos Divine Earth in Duan Lingtian's body. "Boy, I want the Chaos Divine Earth in your body." The old woman grinned without any warning. Her smile was extremely sinister, giving people a bone-chilling feeling. Upon hearing the old woman's words, Duan Lingtian merely smiled. "Kill him." The old woman's expression darkened when she saw Duan Lingtian's smile. Then she said coldly, "De Zhuang, I'll leave the 2 girls to you. I'll deal with this young man." At this moment, Duan Lingtian had transformed into a white-clad young man named Xia Feiwu. He did not have any of his original features. "All right." As soon as the old woman finished speaking, she flew up and left the burly man's arm. The burly man seemed to have transformed into a war chariot as he charged toward Little Gold and Huan. His speed was extremely fast and flames surged out of his body. It was clear he was skilled in the law of fire. Leave this big blockhead to me. As for the old woman, she's yours. As soon as Little Gold finished speaking, she charged toward the burly man. As soon as Little Gold finished speaking, vanished from her spot and reappeared behind the old woman. After a while, the old woman made her move. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The old woman was skilled in the law of ice, a variant of one of the 5 elemental laws. Her attack was so cold that it seemed capable of freezing everything. Alas, no matter how powerful the ice was, it was easily shattered by Huan. After a while, the old woman continued to attack. For a moment, the two of them were evenly matched. On the other side, the brawny man and Xiao Jin were equally matched at the beginning. However, with a low roar, Xiao Jin transformed into his original form. A huge golden rat appeared. As it opened its mouth, a terrifying devouring power spread out as if it wanted to swallow the brawny man. Roar! When Xiao Jin transformed into his original form, the muscular man let out a low roar. Then, his entire body swelled up and turned into a towering tree. The branches and leaves on his body swayed and shot out. Waves of power swept out to resist Xiao Jin's power. For a moment, the two of them were evenly matched. Meanwhile, the old woman had also transformed into a giant black eagle. She was brimming with a violent aura. She was a celestial beast, and her body was filled with a violent aura. The giant eagle immortal beast was also a top immortal beast. When it attacked, sharp blades of light shot out from the tip of its claws in a ferocious manner. Huan Er's expression remained unchanged when she saw this. So what if he was a top-tier immortal beast? She was a divine beast. Brother Ling Tian, ask the Chaos Divine Earth to attack, Huan Er said. A huge silhouette that was the size of a small mountain appeared behind the old woman. It was the silhouette of the Thousand Phantoms Ice Fox. As soon as it appeared, the aura of a divine beast caused the giant eagle immortal beast to widen its eyes in shock. Why, you're a divine beast? Upon confirming that Huan Er was a divine beast, the old woman's eyes widened in shock. Then the aura of the law of earth surged out of her body. Do you think I don't exist? Alas, the aura of the law of earth disappeared as soon as Duan Ling Tian approached the old woman. At the same time, Duan Ling Tian teleported to the old woman's side. Swoosh. At the same time, the eyes of the silhouette of the Thousand Phantoms Ice Fox behind Huan Er flashed. A strange soul energy spread out and shrouded the giant eagle immortal beast. In that instant, the giant eagle's eyes went blank for a moment. Swoosh. While the giant eagle immortal beast was in a daze, a 7-colored sword chi shot out from Duan Lingtian's hand. The 7 orifices exquisite sword shone with the brilliance of a divine weapon. It was so powerful that it felt as though it could cut and annihilate anything in its path. This time, the Chaos Divine Earth seemed to have sensed the threat from the giant eagle. The law of Earth's aura appeared once again. It was the Chaos Divine Earth who was inside the giant eagle, and it wanted to protect its host. You can't even protect yourself, and yet you want to protect your host? Dream on. As soon as the aura of the law of Earth surged out of the giant eagle immortal beast's body, a childish voice rang in the air. It was the Chaos Divine Earth that had emerged from Duan Lingtian's body. No. When the aura of the law of Earth disappeared from the giant eagle immortal beast's body, it cried out in despair. At this moment, she knew the Chaos Divine Earth could not even fend for itself. Spurt. The 7-colored sword radiance swept past and directly split the giant eagle's body into 2. The violent power instantly blasted the giant eagle's corpse into dust, leaving only 2 earthen yellow powers that were constantly clashing. They were evenly matched. However, this evenly matched situation did not last for long. Soon after, the other 4-5 divine elements in Duan Lingtian's body made their moves. All of them were 7th form divine elements, and any one of them was more than enough to crush the Chaos Divine Earth. However, now that all 4 of them had joined forces, they were able to suppress the Chaos Divine Earth. 7th form Profound Divine Metal, 7th form Clear Heavens Divine Wood, 7th form Chaos Divine Flame, and 7th form World Cleansing Divine Water? The Chaos Divine Earth in Duan Lingtian's body successfully devoured the giant eagle immortal beast and transformed into a 7th form Chaos Divine Earth. I'm finally in my 7th form. The Chaos Divine Earth's childish voice was filled with excitement. In the past, when the Chaos Divine Earth saw the other 4 divine elements transforming into their 7th forms, and the Chaos Divine Flame was close to entering its 8th form, it was extremely anxious. Now that it had successfully transformed, It was only natural for it to be excited. Burmese lady. On the other side, the towering tree that Xiao Jin was fighting with suddenly let out a furious roar after discovering that the giant eagle had been killed. Then, its strength exploded as if it had used 120% of its strength. Even Xiao Jin was temporarily at a disadvantage. However, when Duan Lingtian swung the 7 orifices exquisite sword, the tree did not even last for a moment before it was killed by Duan Lingtian. Let's continue. After killing the tree, Duan Lingtian, Huan and Little Gold continued to search for opponents in the purgatory of myriad changes. Without exception, all of their opponents were unlucky to encounter them. Among them there were some who possessed the 5 divine elements. Although there were 3 6-form divine elements, none of them possessed the Chaos Divine Flame. Otherwise, the Chaos Divine Flame would have been able to transform into the 8th form. A 7th form world-cleansing divine water. After wandering in the purgatory of 10,000 changes for 10 years, Duan Lingtian finally encountered a 6th-form divine element. Moreover, it was a world-cleansing divine water. A 7th-form world-cleansing divine water? The owner of the 7th-form world-cleansing divine water was a middle-aged man dressed in azure robes. He was tall and burly, and his expression was cold and stern. Unconcealable greed could be seen in his eyes when he looked at Duan Lingtian. When Duan Lingtian's world-cleansing divine water discovered the world-cleansing divine water in the middle-aged man's body, the world-cleansing divine water in the middle-aged man's body also discovered the world-cleansing divine water in the middle-aged man's body. Sister Water, you're quite lucky. Duan Lingtian said to the world-cleansing divine water in his body. Don't be careless. At this moment, the world-cleansing divine water's voice suddenly turned solemn as it said, the 7th-form world-cleansing divine water in the young man's body gives me a strange feeling. It's as though there's a connection between the young man and the young man. In fact, it's possible that the world-cleansing divine water has been residing in his body since before he was born. Moreover, he's not human. He might be a divine beast. Upon hearing the world-cleansing divine water's words, Duan Lingtian's eyes widened in shock. Divine beast? Up until now, Huaner was the only divine beast he had encountered. He had encountered many top-tier celestial beasts, but Huaner was the only divine beast he had encountered. However, he had encountered a second divine beast? Moreover, it was an enemy. Brother Lingtian. He gives me a dangerous feeling. At this moment, Little Gold's voice rang in Duan Lingtian's ears. At this moment, Little Gold's voice was no longer casual and frivolous. Instead, it sounded solemn. This was rare for Duan Lingtian to see Little Gold acting this way. Duan Lingtian knew Little Gold must have noticed something unusual about Duan Lingtian. He's a divine beast. Duan Lingtian said to Little Gold. What? Little Gold was stunned by Duan Lingtian's words. After a while, she regained her senses and stared at Duan Lingtian with bright eyes as she said, Brother Lingtian, perhaps I'm going to be lucky today. Lucky? What kind of lucky are you talking about? Duan Lingtian asked curiously. Let's get rid of him first. Little Gold said. Brother Lingtian, Huan said. At the same time, she whispered into Duan Lingtian's ears, I sense danger from him. You have to be careful. Although Huaner was a divine beast, she specialized in illusory techniques. Her sense of smell was not as sharp as Little Gold's, a top-tier celestial beast. She was just like an ordinary mouse. She was extremely vigilant when it came to danger. Huaner, he's a divine beast like you. Duan Lingtian said. Before Huaner could react, Duan Lingtian looked at the middle-aged man and said indifferently, You're the first divine beast I've encountered in the purgatory battlefield. Revert to your true form. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't even have a chance to revert to your true form to fight me. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the middle-aged man's eyes widened in surprise. Chapter 3361. You're quite perceptive. You can tell I'm a divine beast. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the middle-aged man looked at Duan Lingtian in surprise. Then he sneered disdainfully and said, Although I think you're exaggerating since you're so eager to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Almost as soon as the middle-aged man finished speaking, his body suddenly shook. Then, a huge shadow condensed around his body and finally completely solidified. It was as though the middle-aged man had completely disappeared at this moment. All that was left was a completely blue crystal-clear beast. Based on its appearance, it was somewhat similar to the white tiger in the ancient myths and legends on Earth in Duan Lingtian's previous life. However, it was even more ferocious. As soon as the middle-aged man reverted to his true form, Little Gold's face turned slightly pale. Then, a silhouette of her true form appeared behind her to resist the middle-aged man's aura. A divine beast had the aura of a divine beast. Swoosh. At the same time, the silhouette of 1,000 phantoms ice fox appeared behind Huan. Both Little Gold and Huan did not summon their true forms. Instead, they summoned their true forms on their own accord due to the pressure from the divine beast's aura. The blue tiger-type divine beast had a powerful body and a pair of sharp eyes. It looked at Little Gold disdainfully before it shifted its gaze to Huan. I didn't expect to encounter 1,000 phantoms ice fox here. A turquoise water divine tiger. Huaner, who had seen the divine beast's true form, confirmed it was a divine beast through her inherited memories. The turquoise water divine tiger was a divine beast that only appeared once every 100,000 years in the Devata realm's White Tiger clan. It was as famous as the Dragon clan's 10-clawed divine dragon. Both of them were divine beasts that specialized in killing, unlike the 1,000 phantoms ice fox who specialized in illusory techniques. In terms of offensive techniques, the 1,000 phantoms ice fox was, at most, comparable to top celestial beasts that specialized in killing. Both of you can come at me together. A blue energy surged out of the turquoise water divine tiger's body. At the same time, a painting appeared above its head and slowly unfurled. The painting emitted an ancient aura, emitting an oppressive aura. Even an emperor-grade celestial weapon with an artifact spirit did not have such an aura. Divine artifact. At this moment, it was not difficult for Duanling Tian and his two companions to recognize the scroll was a divine weapon. Little Gold exclaimed in surprise, "This is one of the two divine artifacts of the White Tiger clan, the divine water diagram. I didn't expect the White Tiger clan to give this divine artifact to you when you haven't even become a celestial emperor." The White Tiger clan was also a heaven-grade force. However, their main base was not in the 10,000 Beasts heaven but in another Devata realm. After all, the White Tiger clan was one of the more powerful heaven-grade forces in the Devata realms. They were as famous as the Dragon clan. For this reason, Little Gold had heard about the White Tiger clan and the two guardian divine weapons of the White Tiger clan in Blood Moon Ridge. The White Tiger clan's two great clan guarding divine artifacts. One of them was the Jade Water Diagram. It was said to be able to store all rivers in the world. Once it launched an attack, it would be continuous and unstoppable, possessing boundless power. You're quite knowledgeable. The turquoise water divine tiger glanced at Little Gold indifferently. A hint of surprise could be heard in his voice. The White Tiger clan is really secretive. I've never heard of a turquoise water divine tiger appearing in the White Tiger clan. However, it's understandable. After all, the White Tiger clan wants you to grow stronger so that you won't be harmed by your opponents. Little Gold continued to speak. A divine beast with a divine artifact and a seventh form world-cleansing divine water. If I'm not mistaken, you must be one of the two people who topped the merit ranking, right? Little Gold asked again. The two people who topped the merit ranking had broken the limit of 7,000 military merit points and were listed at 8,000 military merit points. They were also the only two level 7 commanders in the Purgatory battlefield. By Shui Han? Little Gold asked tentatively. Little girl, you're very smart. The turquoise water divine tiger grinned. His smile was extremely resplendent. The power that had fused with the laws of water surged out from his body like a tidal wave, constantly reverberating through space. It was vast, ready to be unleashed at any moment. However, it's a pity that all of you will have to stay here today. As soon as he finished speaking, the turquoise water divine tiger's eyes flashed coldly, and he made a move. Let's test it. When it's careless, we'll attack it with all our strength. Duanling Tian heard the world-cleansing divine water's voice. Upon hearing this, Duanling Tian did not dare to waste any time. He immediately summoned the godly image phenomenon of the pine willow divine tree. The energy of the 5 divine elements also surged into the godly image phenomenon of the pine willow divine tree. As for the spatial energy and the 7 orifices exquisite sword, they followed suit and merged with the pine willow divine tree. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The willow branches swung out like giant pythons in the air. They opened their bloody mouths and lunged at the turquoise water divine tiger. Huan Little Gold, the two of you just need to hold the fort. Duanling Tian said to Huan and Little Gold. At the same time, the turquoise water divine tiger was also swept by the willow branches. However, the azure energy on its body coiled around its body, causing it to be like a loach. As the willow branches swept past its body, they were all deflected and did not cause any harm to it. Naturally, this was only a probing attack from Duanling Tian. The 5 divine elements' power was concealed so the turquoise water divine tiger did not notice anything amiss. Is that all you've got? The turquoise water divine tiger sneered. The turquoise water diagram above his head shone with a brilliant azure light. A torrent of energy surged out of the diagram and formed a waterspout that charged toward Duanlingtian. To be more precise, it was charging toward Duanlingtian's divine image celestial body of the pine willow divine tree. Brat, you should let these 2 girls help you. The turquoise water divine tiger laughed maniacally. Although the 3 of them were not weak, they were not weak. However, the strength of the 3 of them was not strong. If the 7th form world cleansing divine water was in the 1,000 Phantoms Ice Fox's body, he might have been wary. However, since it was in the body of a human, there was nothing for him to be wary of. Even if the human had a divine artifact in the 7th form world cleansing divine water, he would still be able to crush the human. As for the 1,000 Phantoms Ice Fox, he was not afraid at all. This was because his divine water portrait was not only an offensive divine artifact, but also the nemesis of illusions. No matter how many illusions the 1,000 Phantoms Ice Fox threw at him, as long as he had the divine water portrait, he would not be afraid. The 1,000 Phantoms Ice Fox was no different from an ordinary celestial beast without its illusions. You're not worthy of the 3 of us joining forces. At this moment, Duanlingtian could hear the arrogance in the turquoise water divine tiger's voice. He knew it was time. Let's try to kill him in one blow. Duanlingtian communicated with the 5 divine elements in his body and Huang, the sword soul of the 7 orifices exquisite sword. Then he urged the pine willow divine tree to fly through the air and use its branches to propel itself toward the turquoise water divine tiger. That was right. He was going to throw it at the turquoise water divine tiger. The pine willow divine tree's godly image was extremely condensed. When it flew out, it was as though a giant tree had been uprooted and thrown at the turquoise water divine tiger. A mantis trying to stop a chariot. The turquoise water divine tiger laughed disdainfully. With a sway of his body, he left a trail of azure light in the air. At this moment, the sky was no longer dark. It was replaced by an azure light that accentuated the beauty of heaven and earth. Boom. Rumble. A vast flood gushed out from the painting of the divine water. It was as if there was no end to it. One wave after another. The pine willow divine tree's godly image Dharma body was instantly destroyed and turned into nothingness after 3 waves of attacks from the divine water painting. Too weak. The turquoise water divine tiger laughed disdainfully. Then he sent a voice transmission to Duanlingtian. Brat, you're about to die. As for the world-cleansing divine water in your body, I'll gladly accept it. Ha! The turquoise water divine tiger laughed maniacally. It was as though the world-cleansing divine water in Duanlingtian's body was already in his bag. As long as I kill this brat and take his world-cleansing divine water, the world-cleansing divine water in my body will evolve to its 8th form. The turquoise water divine tiger was excited when he thought about this. At the same time, a cruel gleam flashed in his eyes as he stared at the purple-clad figure in the distance. Brat, a man's wealth is his own fault. If you want to blame someone, blame it on the fact that you have the world-cleansing divine water in your body. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered to kill you. Throughout his journey, the turquoise water divine tiger had encountered many weak humans. However, he did not bother to kill them and take their merit points. He only targeted those who were stronger. Although the purple-clad young man in front of him was considered strong among humans, he was still pitifully weak. Shameless boasting. Duanlingtian's eyes turned cold as he unleashed his space energy. Following that, he teleported behind the turquoise water divine tiger. Naturally, the turquoise water divine tiger had already turned around at lightning speed. The divine artifact, the divine water diagram, that was hovering above his head, emitted a majestic aura as a vast blue energy surged out of it. Brat, I'll send you on your way now. The turquoise water divine tiger shouted. The energy from the turquoise water diagram was like a ray of light that could destroy the world. In just a blink of an eye, the entire dark world was shrouded by the blue light. Not a single corner was spared. The purple-clothed youth's figure seemed extremely small in front of this world-destroying azure energy. Because he was so small, he was drowned by the azure light in the blink of an eye. He was like a lone boat capsized in the middle of the ocean, unable to withstand a single blow from the raging waves. Just when the turquoise water divine tiger thought he had won, swoosh! A rainbow-colored speck of light suddenly flashed in this azure world. It was like a star that wanted to compete with the entire world for glory. Chapter 3362. This is under the turquoise water divine tiger's astonished gaze, the 7 colored specks of light that appeared in the azure senior sister under his control started to expand even more rapidly. In the beginning it was only a small speck of light. Then it grew larger and larger until it was the size of a baby's fist. It continued to grow larger and larger. No. We can't let him turn the tables. The turquoise water divine tiger's eyes turned cold as he called out to the world-cleansing divine water in his body. In just a blink of an eye, the turquoise water divine tiger's divine weapon, the divine water diagram, shone brightly as a vast energy poured down like the Milky Way. In just a blink of an eye, the 7-colored speck of light dimmed significantly. Sister Water, it's done. Duan Lingtian, who was surrounded by the 7-colored sword chi, smiled faintly as he called out to the world-cleansing divine water in his little world. The world-cleansing divine water had been waiting for this moment. Although the turquoise water divine tiger was also in its 7th form, the turquoise water divine tiger was a divine beast. Moreover, the world-cleansing divine water had been in the turquoise water divine tiger's body ever since it was in its mother's womb. For this reason, the turquoise water divine tiger and the world-cleansing divine water could borrow each other's strength. Moreover, the world-cleansing divine water could borrow each other's strength without affecting the other party too much. However, even if it did not affect the other party too much, it would still affect the other party. Old Flame, lend me a hand. As for the 3 of you, do your best to help little Tian kill the turquoise water divine tiger. After the world-cleansing divine water called out to the chaos divine flame, it turned to the profound divine metal, the clear sky divine wood and the chaos divine earth and said, "Let's see who can kill the turquoise water divine tiger first." As soon as the world-cleansing divine book finished speaking, the 7-colored sword chi on Duan Lingtian's body grew even brighter. No matter how hard the turquoise water divine tree tried to suppress it, it still shone brightly. At this moment, the turquoise water divine tiger was shocked to discover that the 7-colored sword chi was too powerful. The 7-colored light was too powerful. There was no way to suppress it. Go. Duan Lingtian's eyes turned cold as the 7-colored sword chi shot toward the turquoise water divine tiger like a phantom. Even though this azure world was controlled by the turquoise water divine tiger, it still couldn't stop him from advancing. Seeing this, the turquoise water divine tiger's pupils shrank. A trace of panic flashed in the depths of his eyes, but he quickly suppressed it. Condense. As the turquoise water divine tiger narrowed his eyes, a boundless power swept out from his body. It was like a domain, enveloping the azure world in the blink of an eye. In the next moment, the azure world gradually dissipated. More accurately speaking, all of the azure energy in this azure world had been enveloped by the jade water divine tree's energy, compressed, and stored in the jade water divine tiger's mouth. The turquoise water divine tiger opened its gaping maw, and bright blue energy converged to form an energy ball that looked as if it could explode at any moment. Bright blue lightning crackled around it. Whoosh! The rainbow-colored sword light flew out and sliced through the air. It was especially dazzling in the dusky world, like a ray of light in the darkness. Brr. In the face of the rainbow-colored sword light, the turquoise water divine tiger let out a deafening roar. In an instant, the entire world was filled with the turquoise water divine tiger's roar. The void trembled and terrifying spatial ripples rippled through the void. At this moment, even Huan and Little Gold were pushed back a few steps before they could regain their footing. Whoosh, whoosh. The painting of the divine water hovered above the turquoise water divine tiger's head. Boundless power poured out from it, enveloping the turquoise water divine tiger's body. Finally, it entered the energy ball in the turquoise water divine tiger's mouth. Boom. With a loud bang, the painting of the divine water activated the energy ball in the turquoise water divine tiger's mouth like a fuse. In an instant. Boom. Rumble. Space trembled as if it was about to explode. The energy ball in the mouth of the jade water divine tree transformed into an extremely condensed water spout, bringing with it a terrifying might as it clashed with the rainbow-colored sword light. Let's go. As soon as the world-cleansing divine water shouted, an azure power and a fiery red power swept out side by side. It was like a combination of fire and water. When the two forces crossed each other, the water spout that originated from the jade water divine tiger immediately lost a portion of its power. Fortunately, the 7th form world-cleansing divine water in the water spout withdrew its energy. This was because the world-cleansing divine water had launched an attack to devour it. A primal chaos divine flame that's close to the 8th form? The turquoise water divine tiger's world-cleansing divine water was willing to fight against the 7th form world-cleansing divine water. In fact, it had a high chance of winning. However, when the world-cleansing divine water attacked, it was shocked to discover that the world-cleansing divine water had a world-cleansing divine water. The world-cleansing divine water had a helper with it. Although the world-cleansing divine water was also in the 7th form, the primal chaos divine flame was close to the 8th form. It was even stronger than the world-cleansing divine water. Primal chaos divine flame, this is a battle between the world-cleansing divine water. Please don't interfere. The world-cleansing divine water and the turquoise water divine tiger's world-cleansing divine water was afraid. It was confident it could even devour the world-cleansing divine water. However, with the help of the primal chaos divine flame, it had no chance of winning. It could only hope that the world-cleansing divine water would not interfere. However, the primal chaos divine flame ignored it. It joined forces with the world-cleansing divine water and suppressed the world-cleansing divine water in just a blink of an eye. Senior. The world-cleansing divine water in the turquoise water divine tiger's world-cleansing divine water was in danger, but there was nothing it could do to help. Not to mention the fact that the other party's 7-colored sword light was coming at him menacingly. Even if the other party didn't have the 7-colored sword light, he couldn't help the world-cleansing divine water. At most, he could let the world-cleansing divine water borrow his strength to a certain extent and convert it into its own strength. At this moment, the rainbow-colored sword light finally collided with the turquoise water divine tiger's waterspout. In the beginning, everything was calm. However, after a short while, an earth-shattering sound suddenly rang out. It shook the 9 heavens, causing the entire world to tremble violently at this moment. Boom. Rumble. A loud roar resounded as the 7-colored sword light submerged the waterspout in an instant. Impossible. The turquoise water divine tiger didn't expect a human to be able to display such terrifying strength after losing the help of 2 of the divine elements. However, he soon discovered something. The other party's power didn't just contain the power of a divine artifact and the power of space. There were also 3 other powers that emitted the aura of the law of metal, the law of wood, and the law of earth. It's over. Brat, you're really unlucky to have met a monster. That human brat possesses all 5 of the divine elements. On top of that, all 5 of them are in the 7th form of the divine elements. While the turquoise water divine tiger was stunned by the power displayed by the human before him, the despairing voice of the world-cleansing divine water came from within his body. Goodbye, little white. I'll wait for you downstairs. The words of the world-cleansing divine water vanished in the blink of an eye. As for the turquoise water divine tiger, after coming back to his senses in a hurry, he felt his scalp go numb. Then his eyes turned crimson red and his blood chi surged. He had given it his all. He knew he had no choice but to give it his all. If he had to give it his all, he would have no choice but to accept his death. As a divine beast, the turquoise water divine tiger naturally had his own means to protect himself. At this moment he had completely activated the bloodline power in his body. Drops of blood essence began to burn as though they had no regard for their own lives, causing the bloodline power in his body to boil. His blood chi surged out of his body and merged with the waterspout in an attempt to block Duan Lingtian's 7-colored sword chi. At this moment he managed to block Duan Lingtian's 7-colored sword chi. Swoosh. The 7-colored sword ray's speed began to slow down, but it was not completely blocked. It was still traveling at an extremely fast speed, but compared to before, its current speed was more than half of what it was before. Swoosh. At this moment, the red light around the 7-colored sword chi intensified. It was as though a layer of flames had ignited around it. The primal chaos divine flame had returned. In just a blink of an eye, the speed of the 7-colored sword chi increased again. Oh! With a cry of despair, Duan Lingtian became one with his sword. The 7-colored sword chi pierced through the turquoise water divine tiger's glabella. The turquoise water divine tiger's voice came to an abrupt halt. Regardless of whether it was the energy from the law of water or the bloodline power, it was completely annihilated. Big brother Lingtian, get out of the way. When Duan Lingtian killed the turquoise water divine tiger, Little Gold's voice rang in Duan Lingtian's ears. I'm going to devour it. Duan Lingtian turned around and saw Little Gold's true form. At the same time, she opened her mouth and released a powerful suction force that enveloped the area around the turquoise water divine tiger's corpse. Even Duan Lingtian could feel the powerful suction force. Swoosh. With just a thought, Duan Lingtian sent the 7-colored sword chi out of Little Gold's range and returned to Huan Er's side. At the same time, Huan Er withdrew her silhouette. Duan Lingtian and Huan Er watched as Little Gold's true form devoured the turquoise water divine tiger's corpse. Following that, Little Gold's bloodline power surged. Big brother Ling Tian Huan, protect me. I want to see if I can use the turquoise water divine tiger's power to break through my bloodline shackles and evolve into a divine beast. Little Gold's voice rang in Duan Ling Tian and Huan Er's ears again. If I can evolve into a divine beast, I'll be able to become a 9 depths god-slaying rat. At that time, I'll be able to do whatever I want in Blood Moon Ridge. I'll smash the Blood Moon Ridge Master's treasures, and he won't dare to punish me. At the end of Xiao Jin's words, there was some yearning and anticipation. Chapter 3363. As soon as Little Gold finished speaking, she closed her eyes again. At the same time, her huge body was shrouded by a surge of blood qi. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian and Huan Er could not tell what was going on with the blood qi. They did not know what was happening to the blood qi. However, even then Duan Ling Tian knew that Little Gold had encountered a good thing and not a bad thing. Even if Little Gold failed, she would still be stuck in the same spot. Once she succeeded, according to Little Gold's words, she would evolve into a divine beast. Huan Er. Duan Ling Tian could not help but ask, is it possible to evolve into a divine beast like Little Gold? Doesn't that mean there's a chance for a top-tier celestial beast to evolve into a divine beast by killing a divine beast? In Duan Ling Tian's opinion, there must be a record of this in Huan Er's inherited memory. Brother Ling Tian, Huan Er said as she shook her head. Only a few top-tier celestial beasts have the ability to devour a divine beast's bloodline. Most celestial beasts and even top-tier celestial beasts don't have this ability. Little Gold happens to be one of those top-tier celestial beasts. Naturally, a top-tier celestial beast like Little Gold can only evolve into a divine beast by devouring a divine beast's bloodline. If she devours other top-tier celestial beasts, she won't be able to evolve into a divine beast no matter how much she devours. Duan Ling Tian nodded. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian was filled with anticipation. He sincerely hoped Little Gold would be able to evolve into a divine beast. Little Gold. Duan Ling Tian did not expect the little gold mouse he met in the mundane realm would have grown so much. She even had a chance of evolving into a divine beast. He did not even dare to dream about this when he first met the little gold mouse. Meanwhile, Little Gold was in closed-door cultivation after devouring the turquoise water divine tiger's bloodline. Duan Ling Tian and Huan Er were by her side to protect her. They did not continue to look for other enemies. Naturally, they were in the purgatory of myriad changes. Even if they did not look for other enemies, they would still come knocking on their door. But so what? Duan Ling Tian could even kill one of the 2 strongest rank 7 commanders in the purgatory battlefield. Why would he be afraid of others? No matter how many came, they would all be destroyed. At this time, many people who were paying attention to the military merit rankings discovered that one of the 2 people at the top, Bai Shui Han, who was ranked 2nd, had disappeared from the military merit rankings. Bai Shui Han was the alias of the turquoise water divine tiger who had died at the hands of Duan Ling Tian in the purgatory battlefield. His real name was not Bai Shui Han. Her name was Bai Ning. Bai Shui Han was just his alias. Though he was a divine beast that only appeared once every 100,000 years in the White Tiger clan and could command the entire clan to protect him, Bai Ning didn't dare reveal his identity in the purgatory battlefield. Once the fact that he possessed one of the 5 divine elements, the world-cleansing divine water, was exposed, he and the entire White Tiger clan would become the target of public criticism. At that time, even the White Tiger clan could not protect him. The allure of the 5 divine elements, especially the high-form 5 divine elements, was too great. A 7th form world-cleansing divine water was enough for many heaven-grade forces and even heavenly emperor forces to fight for it. The White Tiger clan was strong. However, how could it defend itself against 10 dozens, or even hundreds of heaven-grade forces and heavenly emperor forces that were not weaker than the White Tiger clan? Heavens! That 7th level commander Bai Shui Han was killed just like that? Who killed him? I don't know. There hasn't been a 2nd rank 7 commander. Obviously, Bai Shui Han was either killed by another 7th level commander or by someone else. The latter had yet to pass the test of breaking the upper limit of military merits to become a 7th level commander. Bai Shui Han, who was ranked 2nd on the military merit rankings and one of the 2 rank 7 commanders in the purgatory battlefield, had died just like that. For a time, the entire purgatory battlefield was in an uproar. No one knew that Bai Shui Han had died at the hands of Duan Ling Tian, who was also a rank 6 commander under the alias of Xia Feiwu. Although the purgatory battlefield prohibited the use of celestial talismans. However, if the person who entered the purgatory battlefield died, his soul pearl outside the purgatory battlefield would react accordingly. Bai Ning, who was a rank 7 commander under the alias of Bai Shui Han, was like a fish in water in the purgatory battlefield. Naturally, his soul pearl had shattered after he was killed by Duanling Tian. Of course, Bai Ning's soul orb was only discovered a few hours after it was shattered. The entire White Tiger clan was shocked. The main clan of the White Tiger clan was located in a Devata realm called the Wanderlust Heaven. The White Tiger clan's base was located in a mountain range that stretched for 10,000 miles. And now, in various places of the 10,000 miles Tsang Mountain, there were figures rushing out like lightning towards the center of the 10,000 miles Tsang Mountain. All of these people were high-ranking officials in the White Tiger clan. Soon after, the high-ranking officials of the White Tiger clan gathered in the meeting hall of the White Tiger clan's base. Bai Ning is dead. The patriarch of the White Tiger clan, a burly man with a curly beard dressed in a white robe, said with a grim expression on his face. I've already said that Bai Ning shouldn't have gone to the purgatory battlefield. An elder of the White Tiger clan said in a deep voice. He had white hair and a youthful complexion, and his eyes were as bright as the stars. Bai Ning is a turquoise water divine tiger that only appears once every 100,000 years in the White Tiger clan. How could he have died in the purgatory battlefield? Is it possible that he was killed after he left the purgatory battlefield? Another elder of the White Tiger clan asked. Impossible. A graceful and beautiful woman dressed in a white robe with golden edges said in a deep voice. Bai Ning would always send me a voice transmission before he left the purgatory battlefield. The last time I received a voice transmission from him was before he entered the purgatory battlefield. The beautiful woman was none other than Bai Ning's master's wife, the wife of the Grand Elder of the White Tiger clan. She was also the 7th Elder of the White Tiger clan, a rare female titled Celestial Emperor in the White Tiger clan. With Bai Ning's strength, he's invincible in the purgatory battlefield. With the painting of the divine water and the world-cleansing divine water, who would be a match for him? No matter what, Bai Ning is dead. Bai Ning is the hope of the White Tiger clan. If he becomes a Celestial Emperor in the future and comprehends the fused profundities, he'll definitely be able to lead the White Tiger clan to the top of the Wanderlust Heaven. Damn it. If I find out who killed Bai Ning, I'll tear that person into a million pieces and burn their bones to ashes. The high-ranking officials of the White Tiger clan were furious. They were furious and helpless at the same time. If Bai Ning had died in the purgatory battlefield, the chances of them finding the murderer were close to zero. We still have to investigate this matter. This matter is too suspicious. The patriarch of the White Tiger race said in a low voice, maybe Bai Ning didn't send a message to the 7th Elder when he left the purgatory battlefield and forgot? That's right. We have to investigate this matter. Although the White Tiger clan knew their chances were slim, this matter concerned Bai Ning's death and the painting of the divine water, the clan's most treasured divine artifact. It was impossible for Bai Ning to come back to life. However, if they could find out who killed Bai Ning, there was still a chance for them to retrieve the painting of the divine water. Naturally, Bai Ning was more important to the White Tiger clan than the painting of the divine water. However, now that Bai Ning was dead, the painting of the divine water was still the top priority of the White Tiger clan. Avenging Bai Ning was secondary. After all, even if they avenged Bai Ning would not come back to life. In the Wanderlust Heaven's Wanderlust territory, the powerhouses of the White Tiger clan began to investigate. Naturally, Duanling Tian was unaware of all this and it was impossible for him to know. Even if he knew, he would not care. No one would know he was the one who killed Bai Ning unless he admitted it himself. Time flew by like a white steed flitting by a crack. In just a blink of an eye, another 10 years had passed. In the purgatory battlefield, Duanling Tian and Huan were still guarding Little Gold. And now, the bloodline power around Little Gold's body had condensed into a blood-red cocoon-like thing that wrapped around it. Duanling Tian and Huan had no idea what was going on inside the cocoon. All they knew was that they had to protect Little Gold until it came out of closed-door cultivation. Over the past 10 years, many people had come to their doorsteps to be killed by Duanling Tian and Huan. Among these people, there were some who possessed the 5 divine elements. Naturally, they were only low-level 5 divine elements. Even so, with enough divine elements, some of the 5 divine elements in Duanling Tian's body had successfully transformed into the 8th form. The Chaos Divine Flame was the first to evolve to the 8th form. Now that the Chaos Divine Flame had evolved to the 8th form, it was much more helpful to Duanling Tian than before. In fact, it could even form a fire clone and stay outside for a while. Naturally, it could not stray too far away from Duanling Tian. Sister Water, you're very knowledgeable. Do you know about Little Gold's current situation? Is it possible for her to evolve into a divine beast? Duan Tian asked the world-cleansing divine water curiously. In his opinion, the world-cleansing divine water had followed the divine tree of life in a realm of gods for many years. It was only natural that it was knowledgeable. Based on the current situation, it's very likely. The world-cleansing divine water replied, after all, 10 years have passed. If it fails, it won't be possible for it to last so long. Sister Water. When little gold comes out of closed-door cultivation, I'll leave the purgatory battlefield. Duan Tian said, even if you stay here you won't be able to improve much. It's a waste of time. Although Duan Tian had encountered many 5 divine elements and helped the Chaos Divine Flame evolve to the 8th form, the world-cleansing divine water and the other divine elements did not improve much. The reason the Chaos Divine Flame was able to evolve further was because of its previous accumulation. After I leave, I plan to become a celestial emperor first before entering the purgatory battlefield. Duan Tian's eyes shone brightly as he thought to himself, I'm sure there are many celestial emperors who possess the 5 divine elements in the purgatory battlefield as well. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.